So yeah, you guys are all right here in the city, in the square of marshals, waiting in the wings with Johann Opfer, awaiting the time when you want to bring him forward. As we said at the very beginning of the trial, there was a shattered trumpet blast. It rang out across the square. The crowds quietened as the herald stood up on the dais and said, "Let all citizens and nobles of Middenheim take note. Here begins the trial of one Jacob Bauer of Altdorf for the most heinous crimes of heresy, consorting with the forces of chaos and treason against our most high lord, Graf Boris Todbringer. May Ulrich protect him. All the said crimes have been committed within the city of Middenheim between 1 and 2 days. The herald then turns to the watchman guarding Bauer. Is the accused in the court? He asks rhetorically. Aye, responds the watchman in unison. Bauer says nothing, ignoring the watchman. And at that point, a sudden barrage of missiles, like rotten fruit and stuff like that, had hit him. And you could hear people in the background of the crowd screaming, "Burn him! Burn him!" At that point, he says, "The accused will be judged by the wise and learned panel headed by the noble Ulrich Schutzmann, commander of the Middenheim City Watch, wielding by special appointment the authority of the said Graf Boris Todbringer, in his absence from the city. Also on the panel are Her Severe Grace, Wiener Klug, High Priestess of the Temple of Vienna, His Excellency, Eberhard Richter, First Law Marshal of Middenheim, His Excellency Erich Karlsbad, Second Law Marshal of Middenheim, and His Excellency Hannes Brucker, Third Law Marshal of Middenheim." The herald then turns to the panel. "Are the judges in the court?" he asks. "Aye," they all respond in unison. The crowd cheers loyally. "For the Emperor, may justice be prevail! Burn him!" He says, "Then let the court now be in session." Okay. With that, it begins. The very first thing that happens is they call for Jacob Bauer to be brought to the stand. The two guards march him up there, stand him behind the podium, and again, several more pieces of rotten fruit fly through the air and impact him and the stand itself. At that point, he says, "I now call Deputy High Priest Klaus Leibniz to speak for the prosecution, and High Capillary Werner Stolz for the defense." Leibniz walks up there wearing all of his Ulrichian regalia and initially just walks to the left and right with his hands behind his back, looking at Jacob Bauer as he does so, like he's trying to size him up. Bauer just stands there stoically, like looking back at him in contempt. At that point, he begins. He says, "We are here today because Jacob Bauer is guilty of the crime of heresy, treason, and consorting with chaos. He was found by the City Watch in possession of a forbidden chaos tome." And then he glances with a shocked look on his face, very theatrically, at the audience that's there, and immediately, "Heretic! Burn him!" They start to scream and riotous applause. Everybody that, basically all of you guys are kind of in amongst the crowd. It's a little deafening, hearing all this ridiculous amounts of yelling and hollering. It's more like you're at a football game or a soccer match or a little league game with obnoxious parents all around you. But Everybody, if you will, you can give me... what is it? A perception roll, please. And I want to see what you can ascertain from the very situation.
I just look like I'm gonna throw up.
The only one, and there's... Okay. So,
Nice.
Bertilda and Cadorel, really, all you can really ascertain is, God, these people are loud. Wouldn't they just... I wish they would just shut up. Probably because, A, Bertilda is nursing a little bit of a hangover for last night's extreme drinking contest. And this is just not the sort of thing that Cadorel is used to being involved in. It's entirely too uncouth and altogether crass for his more nobilic and
Superiority.
yeah, superior, high and mighty persons. However,
Of course.
Matthew
other elf.
Bain and Aldette, it is very easy for you to understand. This crowd, this to them is a spectacle. This is a show. This is entertainment. And you know their desire is going to be for that pyre to be lit and somebody to be burned. Therefore, you already know from just a crowd perspective, the defense is going to be fighting an uphill battle here. Okay. He says, "We have had the experts of the Collegium Theologica confirm that the book found on Bauer was indeed the Liber Chaotis, and that is indeed a forbidden tome. Now," and he kind of then looks to address the judges, "you may also argue that Bauer's position as a witch hunter was the perfect cover for him, since it allowed him to persecute others by secretly worshipping chaos himself. The fact that he assaulted supposed chaos temple alone is further proof. What witch hunter would do such a thing by himself? He would have gathered more men before doing such a futile effort alone, and before going in such a terrible place. Therefore, our prosecution stands on the evidence that has been found on his person, the implausible excuse as to why and where he acquired this tome, and that for the crimes most heinous, heresy, treason, and consorting with chaos, there can be only one verdict and only one punishment, and that verdict is guilty, and the punishment, purification by fire." And again, "Burn him, burn him!" And then he kind of like very smugly turns around and offers a hand and gesture to the High Capillary Werner Stoltz, who is to conduct the defense. "May the Honorable Werner Stoltz give his opening statements." Stoltz stands up there and says, "Jacob Bauer has been a faithful servant of Sigma for years. His companions in the Order Fidalis can vouch for that, as can a group of acquaintances that I may be calling as witness here today. Since he is a witch hunter, it is entirely appropriate for him to have on his person a confiscated forbidden tome that he was bringing to the Church of Sigma for destruction. This is his job, after all. This case is based nothing more other than circumstantial evidence and a political ploy. We aim to prove that not only did he only possess this tome because he had apprehended it from a real chaos worshipping cult, but also he was bringing it for destruction and therefore is completely innocent of these absurd charges. And then he kind of looks at the crowd and they're silent. At some point you hear one lone voice go, "Yeah, here," and then poof, he gets ribbed. Like somebody elbows him, "Oh," and he shuts up. He then looks at the judges and says, "Right now, things are at a very emotional, critical time. We are all scared of the resurgence of chaos. It is so easy to cast aspersions on anybody or anything with the slightest indication of fabricated evidence. What we must be careful to do is ensure that we do not play into the hands of chaos by seeing imaginary agents at every turn. For if we do, sooner or later, every neighbor will believe his other neighbors to his left and to his right to be out to get him, worshipping chaos, and the whole city will erupt in turmoil. The truth is what we must concentrate on, and this truth must demand evidence." Okay. At that point, the guy that's kind of orchestrating this event, if you want to call it that, seeing as it seems to be more of a spectacle than a real trial, he says, "Jacob Bauer, do you have a statement to give?" Bauer says, "I do. Me and my companions were commanded to assist the authorities here in rooting out the last vestige of chaos and clearing the city of corruption. I was investigating an outbreak of mutation which took place in the city a few days ago, and I and my colleagues had split up to cover more ground. Close to the north gate, beneath a tavern called the Sword and Flail, I found a group of cultists, servants of chaos who worshipped with a symbol of a bloody skull. In the course of destroying this, I found the book. I was taking it to the temple for examination and ultimately destruction. But on my way, I had received several wounds from vile creatures that I barely managed to escape alive from, and from what I understand, I had collapsed, exhausted from my wounds. The next thing I remember, I woke up in jail. The book is merely evidence that I was doing my duty as a witch hunter. I am a loyal servant of both Sigmar and the Empire. These accusations are preposterous." At this point, once again, the crowd remains quiet. They're not interested in listening to any of this. After the initial statements have been made, Klaus Lieberlitz looks very happy with himself, as he then approaches the stage and says, "I present to the courts Exhibit A." And he holds up the Libra Chaotica, which instantly, "Oh!" The whole crowd is, "Oh!" in utter. He goes, "This vile tome exists for one purpose: spreading and expanding the worship and knowledge of chaos. That this man, Jacob Bauer, was sneaking away for his own chaotic worships. I ask you, why this book would be in the possession of one such as this? And then he turns and defies High Capillary Werner Stoltz to answer such a thing. At this point, he says, I would like to call our first witness. I would like to call a member of the City Watch that found Jacob Bauer lying in the street. They call the watchman to the stage. And basically, they kind of retell how they found him bleeding, lying in the gutter from various different scratch marks, and that he was clutching this vile book, and he had a weird look of contentment on his face, and that when they tried to take the book from him, he woke up and fought them to hold on to the book because clearly it was a great possession of his and he didn't want them to take this book away from him. And at that point, they proceeded to drag him down to the watch where he was arrested, and they called for a representative of the churchhood, and Klaus Liebnitz showed up, and they was told that yes, this is indeed a terrible tome. We will have it verified, but he must be a heretic, and hold him here, he will stand trial. And at that point, he looks at them and says, so, is it not possible that the reason he tried to stop you taking the book was you woke him, he was startled, and he resisted an initial impulse? Why would he be laying in the streets, injured so, if what he says is not what happened? How would he have received these marks? Why, if he had such a dangerous book that everybody knows is something of heresy to possess, would he be carrying it in the streets? Of which they kind of like shrug their shoulders and like, we don't know, we're simple guardsmen. It's beyond our knowledge. All we know is he had it. It's against the law. We arrested him. And once again, the crowds are gleefully happy to jeer more horrible insults and more violent cries for dismemberment, burning, beheading, hang, draw, and quarter him, then burn him, flog him, then burn him, all kinds of vile things.
Well, Dad's gonna look at the group and just be like, have I ever told you guys that I hate this city?
Yes. And I agree.
Perhaps when we are called, we should implicate someone else?
They seem out for blood. If
We'll
we can
give 'em-
incriminate the owner of
Hate
the...
somebody else.
There is cult operations in the Sword and... Is it Sword and Flagon? Or what is it?
Sword and flail, right?
Sword and Flail, yes. So if we incriminate the Sword and Flail, they can go there with their witch hunt, as it were.
But
Yeah.
we don't know that the bartender's bad. What if we get him killed?
We know
Oh, that's the
someone
thing
there
is,
and they might
hopefully,
help
the
you
guard
out.
will take it into account.
Like they did
I-
with this guy.
Oh, with
That's the thing is, I feel the Church of Ulrich has been very heavy-handed in this. We know Ulrich from the City Watch. He's got his own angles, but he's not corrupt by any means. He just wants free work if he can get it.
It just seems to me that we should throw someone else to the hounds of this crowd, because they will not listen to just a, oh, he's innocent defense. We need to
What
give
if the
him
person you throw to the hounds is innocent?
you really want to bet money that bartender doesn't know that there's temple underneath him?
He might not. People are dumb.
I mean,
Well,
we
he-
were able to sneak in there. It is possible, but highly unlikely that he wouldn't be involved.
Those barrels, someone had to put those barrels on top of that trapdoor.
Okay, but
He
can
would
you
be
say
aware
with
of his own
100% certainty that he is?
Well, the owner of the establishment would he really be like, oh, there's unusual barrels in the middle of the room? let's not investigate my own establishment.
I don't know what wizards
enjoy
and cultists can do. Maybe they did some weird magic and he just didn't notice.
I mean, if we were able to walk in there with a little bit of suspicion, then I don't think the owner of the establishment would be like, oh yes, I like to keep empty barrels for the case of putting over here specifically. The barrels were empty. They weren't weighted or anything.
No,
they were just there to be moved, which means there's probably some regular traffic.
At the very least,
if we incriminate the bar itself,
yes. I mean, our witness, and I'm going to look at his name is Johann, right?
Johann Opfer, the
witness,
the star
the
witness.
prime, the star witness. I was like, he did suggest he ended up in the drunk room on the 3rd floor, and then was dragged down, or woke up, but then in the cell. So that's why we're worried about the dwarf. So it seems to be that's what they do. I mean, they use the.
You're making a lot of assumptions.
Look, hopefully if we direct them that direction, they will find someone in the act since we took away what was supposed to be the sacrifice tonight.
And if they just grab somebody just to have a scapegoat?
well, then they'll come to trial and they'll have absolutely no evidence against them other than a trial that nobody wanted in the first place.
I don't think they really care about the trial as much as they like seeing somebody get burned at the stake.
Right, so this at least buys us a day or more for someone else who we might not care about as much. Because we know Bauer's innocence.
What kind of thing is that to say about somebody?
We have
practical
you don't
thing.
care about as much.
We have someone who's
That doesn't
actively...
even give no one likes the city. Why do we care about anyone? This is about our own hide. Bauer is our own hide's protection, right? Because the witch hunters, we want to help them to help us so we can get the hell out of here.
If we think of it from the perspective that Bauer is one of few hopes for this city, as he's one of the few actually geared against chaos, despite what the Church of Ulrich is.
So you're just willing to sacrifice somebody and they don't get a say in it at all.
I'm willing to get somebody else tangled up in this to get things set right. I'm not waiting for some innocent man to die. I'm hoping that our evidence will spur an investigation into the sword and flail, which will prove Jacob Bauer completely innocent.
Also,
okay, the only reason that the Church of Sigmar is stepping in to actually put up effort to defend this guy is because of that he's a witch hunter and he's part of their order. If it was just some barkeep that they could care less about, who happens to hang out with rather seedy individuals, they're not going to step forward and try to defend him. They'll just let him kill him.
But what angle does he have to kill him? The only reason Jacob Bauer is on the chopping block, as it were, is because of a political intrigue. They aren't going to have any reason to kill innocents in any other place.
No, they're not going to have a reason not to kill him, is what you're really telling me.
That's not at all what I'm telling you. You just spun my words terribly.
Why would they even bother giving him a trial? They'll just kill him and be done with it, just like a witch hunter
They
would.
aren't going to just go and kill one of the more popular bar spots for the seedier individuals in the crowd. This is part of the community. They're going to look into it.
Look, guys, this crowd wants blood. We don't have to actually mention the owner of the bar. We just highlight the bar further with the physical evidence we have, the fact that we killed the things that attacked Bauer to begin with, and the evidence should hopefully still be down there, might be gone, and we shift eyes to a bloodthirsty crowd, to an establishment we know has a chaos temple underneath it.
Furthermore, let's not mention our miraculous escape.
I don't think we'll have to. I think the deputy high priest will do that for us.
Well,
Are we talking about
I don't think
Leibniz?
he will, because if he does, then it shows him as incompetent and being unable to keep unarmed people in his secret cell.
Right.
Or it shows that we're agents of chaos, that we're able to get free from the
No
cell.
one even knows that we were arrested there, except that one person down in the secret cell. We walked out of there. People saw us walk out of there.
They just assumed we were there on church business. He's literally the only one with an angle against us.
Oh, and
Okay,
might
well,
be
who do you
upset to
think
see
they're
us
going to
today.
believe? A bunch of people that only a few people know, or the deputy high priest?
You have the entire Church of Sigmar, a lot of evidence, and what I'm getting at is the City Watch, The captain of the City Watch is on our side. We've done work for him. He trusts us and our rapport. He's going to listen to us. We were going to him before we got arrested anyways. Well, when we got arrested anyways. Like, we were looking forward to meeting with him because he had set the record straight and he just nodded off.
You know, furthermore, why do y'all have so much faith in the Temple of Sigmar to begin with? What if they would use us as a scapegoat just to get the witch hunters off?
Are you not
Well,
from Ertengard?
We choose the lesser of two evils when we're in a place.
Okay,
like
but what if they were willing to throw us under the bus to save the witch hunters?
I'll give you why. They didn't have us arrested.
Exactly.
That's good enough for me.
Because they need us to put us on the chopping block in place of the witch hunters.
And we need them in order to
You've
get
been
out
just
of
as important of an agent as they have. They aren't going to fold their hand for us.
I know this.
I pray, I do, that you're all right. But I want you to know that if it turns out that the Sigmarians betray us, Bertilda told you so.
Oh no.
There's no faith in any of these religions.
Can I give my confession now?
If you'd like. Might as well.
You know that guy who almost killed you all dead?
Yes.
He had a similar book on him, and I borrowed it. And I read it.
Please tell me you don't have it right now with you.
No, I left it in an alcove by a water font in the Church of Ulrich.
Oh. Ooh.
It's there, hidden, wrapped up, hidden.
Where we've known to be.
Didn't we just send a mob to the Church of Ulrich a moment ago?
Yeah. I was going to tell you then, but then you basically said, save this witch hunter, and you said you're useless, and this, that, Caterell, remember that? So I was going to tell you, and then I felt bad.
just slip the fact that I happen to have a copy of that exact book that he's on trial for, that he's ultimately going to die for, just slipped my mind, really. I mean...
So yeah, it's there in Ulbricht's church.
Just ready to frame the church for something if we need.
I wasn't thinking about that when I ditched it. I was thinking about we have to get a horse and get out of here,
Well, the church framed us, I'd say that, Cypher and I.
The church didn't frame us, the High Deputy did.
And he speaks for the church pretty prominently, does he not?
The
Deputy High Priest is...
Matilda, we know that Leibniz is not a good guy because he had us arrested for doing nothing wrong, right? So we've always said that the Church of Ulrich is not necessarily all bad. Although,
but you're willing to frame the church. You just said that. To frame the church?
Well, I said that because I'm an asshole.
I'm starting to think maybe this is a whole party of assholes. If it came down to it that it was saving our necks or saving the Order Fidalis.
You're discovering that now?
Well, as this discussion you guys are having is you've been probably having it while you've been listening to what's been going on. You're snapped out of it when you hear Werner Stoltz say that he wants to call forth various independent character witnesses for Jacob Bauer. He says that he has witnesses that are not directly connected to the Church of Sigmar or the Order Fidalis that can vouch for Jacob Bauer's honesty, his valor, his bravery, and his integrity. And at that point, and we're going to do this very randomly because I like mischief, going in order across the top, 1, 2, 3, 4. He says, I would like to call forth one Caterell Dark Eagle.
You see that, guys? I went first. That's because I'm the best choice.
Calling, I'm gonna try and take the pin off of him.
Which pin?
The one that connects us to the church, because they just
the Sigmarian one.
As soon as
you do that, I'm gonna catch your drift and be like, oh yeah, and I'm gonna take it and
so
fold
even if
it
you
inside
miss
my
it,
shirt.
he's like, oh, good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'll actually. Did we get one from? I think I got one from Ulrich, didn't I?
You did.
I'm gonna have that one on.
Okay. So you're gonna wear the Ulrich one to look like you're more. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see Werner Stoltz kind of like looking around to see if he can see you, which of course you're up in the crowd, so he can't.
I'll hold my hand up real high and start working my way up
Okay.
towards the.
Couple of guards kind of come and part the crowd and usher you down. At this point, everybody give me a perception skill roll.
I was about to say. I would like to watch out for stuff now.
Ooh. Oh,
Thank you, Master Bane.
you're welcome, buddy.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
That's too busy trying to remove that pin to notice anything.
I'm really
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably too short to see above the crowd to see what it is that's going on.
Oh, that too.
And the only one that we need Cad to roll.
Oh, yeah. I guess I should roll because
You're definitely
this does involve me.
It does. I mean, if you don't want to possibly observe.
Okay, I'll know.
Okay, yeah. All of you tall enough to see over the heads of everybody else. Notice a
bringing a
brief look of shock on High Priest Klaus Lieblitz's face
Yes!
as you like emerge from the crowd. But he very, very quickly averts his gaze and kind of just a witness. And just kind of like very nonchalantly nods it off.
Dick.
I would like to try to quietly usher our group to move quietly in the crowd. Like not quietly, but like not draw attention.
Try to get
but
closer.
move. I want
or-
to move so he doesn't know where. Because if he knows Cad came from us, he might. Look
Oh,
for
I
us and
see.
have
So
his
you want to
guards come
shift
us.
your group so that if he sends anybody over to where you were, you're not
Yes.
there. Perfect. Okay, I like that
That's
idea.
what I would like to do.
Sounds very
Odette,
smart.
Odette was a sniper in her past life.
Yeah.
She
No,
knows to
Odette
shift
is an
move
agitator.
One
position.
and we
shot,
get
then
in
you
trouble.
move. Right.
Oh,
Okay.
that is an agitator, and we get in trouble all the time. People don't like us.
That's true.
Right. So they invite you up to the stand, and they ask you to pledge that you will tell the truth in the name of the Emperor Todbringer, and as Ulrich and Sigmar are your witness, whether you believe in them or not.
For the Emperor.
There you go. And at that point, he says, "So, Kadirel Dark Eagle, I believe, is your name, full name?
Uh,
Can you tell us the very first time that you met Jacob Bauer and his two associates?"
Well, we were on a mission for the Church of Ulrich itself.
A mission of the. Could you repeat that, please?
We
Loud
were
enough
on-
for
we
everyone to
were-
hear.
Oh, yes, loudly for all to hear. I was on a mission for the Church of Ulrich. They sent us, me and my party, to go find an artifact of chaos for the horrible, abhorrent, and absolutely disdainful, tasteless, terrible god Korn of chaos. We found it and retrieved it with the help of Jacob Bauer and his associates.
So they assisted. Now, why would they assist you? Did at any
Well-
point they try to take this thing from you?
No, they, if anything, gave us tips on how to tie it up and keep it down. It was a ravenous artifact, that one.
And this artifact was brought and returned to the Church of Ulrich, is that correct?
That's the truth.
And to your best knowledge, what happened to this artifact once it arrived?
It was given to, and I'm going to point to him, and that man over there, where he took it to a vault and secured it, along with what we assume is all of his other chaos ornaments.
This is, you believe he has other chaos ornaments? Why would you say such a thing? Had you have evidence of this?
Oh, they referred to it as a process they go by, which they, keep it in a lead box, wrapped up and tied, secured, of course. But
Of which High Priest Klaus Lieblitz says, which of course I am sure is exactly what the High Capillary Werner Stoltz would do if an artifact of chaos was brought to him to secure prior to establishing the method of destruction, no? He says, Of course. This,
They're so petty.
and at this point, oh yeah, there's just like politicians going at it right now. He says, and is this the last time you saw Jacob Bauer, or have you seen him, or did you see him after this?
We did see him afterwards, mostly just to converse over the amount of chaos in the city, where it's been found, other mutations, and other leads we might have to fight chaos within the city. We've been working along with the City Watch, the churches themselves, to try and keep everyone within the walls safe as we can, within our own ability to do so, and should it ever go out of our ability to do so, we would reach out for help.
And in your dealings with Jacob Bauer, would you describe him as a honest man?
To a fault. Sometimes I'm scared to be around him. He might think I smell bad and kill me for it.
Oh, I see. And would you say that he is a staunch advocate of the destruction and rooting out of chaos?
Well beyond anything I would be able to do, absolutely.
And do you believe he has any personal motive for this, such that he might like to hoard these items for himself because he is a chaos worshipper?
That notation, that is insane to me.
I see.
That is insane to me. Upon meeting the man, he basically searched us up and down to find if there was an odd mole, something strange which might incriminate us. Terrifying man.
He says, very well. I have no more questions from you. You may, and before he finishes his sentence, Cloud Lieber says, I would like to cross-examine this witness, please.
Fair enough.
He walks over to you and he says, so, he searched you for moles, or marks that might yield evidence that you were worshippers or tainted by chaos, yes?
As a figure of speech, perhaps, but yes, he was very...
Did he find such a mark?
No.
I put it to you, perhaps the reason he was searching for such a mark was to find you a secret ally. Perhaps
he was gonna kill me.
He was going to kill you.
I mean, if I was a chaos worshipping heretic, yes. He's very, very stern on this, as you are as well, in my workings with you.
Of course. Fair enough. No more questions. And I said,
I got him.
Okay, and they kind of like let you off. They kind of let you walk down. At that point, Werner Stoltz says, "I would like to call a second character witness. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would like to call forth Matthew Blaine Gladshaw. Matthew Blaine Gladshaw."
Okay, I'm gonna hold my the lectern up. It's like a signal that that's me because I'm right here. I'm gonna head up, I guess.
Okay.
We're shifting again.
Right.
We'll pick up Kat on her way, but we're shifting again.
I was gonna ask, like, do they keep me on the...
No, they let you return. Once
okay.
you've been questioned, they let you return to your group.
Sure. It's good that he has the lectern. Prop comedy. Way to go, Matthew Bain.
It's my distraction. That's what I'm hoisting it like it's a fucking banner.
It's like the chair with the it's like the chair and Clint Eastwood.
Excellent.
Sorry if that hurts anyone's feelings in chat. I don't know. Anyway.
Yep, I'd go up there and stand my ground, I guess, in front of everybody.
Okay. Just scribble this down so I don't forget this. Okay. You work your way down, and he invites you to take stand, and once again he asks you to confer that you're going to tell the truth for the Emperor and in the eyes of Sigmar and Ulrich, blah, blah, blah. Okay. He says, So you have also met the acquaintance of Jacob Bauer, yes?
Yes, that is correct.
And can you give us a brief overview of where you first met him and how?
He and the other 2 witch hunters in his employ saved us from a bunch of beastmen that had basically followed us after we retrieved the artifact that the Church of Ulrich requested of us.
They saved you. As in, they fought against the chaos that is the beastmen. And then he's kind of looking at the crowd and nodding approvingly.
Knowing that the crowd is all about bloodshed, I would be like, most definitely they skewered those beastmen. Blood was everywhere. It was a spectacle, sight to see.
He says, excellent, excellent. And, pray do tell, this fine golden plate helm that you wear. Am I mistaken in believing that this helm once belonged to Graf Manfred von Todbringer himself?
Yes,
An
that is
esteemed
true.
member of the Knights Panzer and descendant of our Emperor himself.
This is true. It was first mentioned that it was such a prestigious and valuable object by Bauer and Company.
At this point, the crowd are all like, oh, trying to ogle to see something because they now realize, oh, there's something of relevance to look at.
And it's up for sale later.
Silent auction for all that attended.
Bauer and his company regarded it with reverence and admiration. They were
And
awestruck.
at no point they ever tried to take this beautiful, historic piece of armor from you.
No, they recognized that we had retrieved it from vile chaos creatures, and they had hoarded it basically, so that they liked that it was free and in use in service of the Empire.
I see. And from your dealings with Jacob Bauer, would you say that he is a devout worshipper of Sigmar?
Absolutely.
Did he
Without
ever
question.
cast any aspersions against the Church of Ulrich in your presence?
Not to my recollection, considering we were all working to destroy chaos in the city, and
Right.
we had already been on mission for Orwick to retrieve the artifact from the Corn Temple.
And is it not true that more recently, when he mentioned in his defensive statements that he was dispersed with his comrades to cover more ground, this was because he was actually working in conjunction with you and your colleagues to find and stop a particular spreading of chaos?
Yes, we had intelligence when mutations occur, when the water supply at the Church of Ulrich had been poisoned by warpstone, that other wells throughout the city could also be tainted, and he was fervent in stopping this. So he and his company dealt with the north of the city, while my companions and myself dealt with the south of the city to try to stop it from happening.
So again, you would say that Jacob Bauer is a exemplary member of his order and somebody that is devout in preventing and stopping the spread of chaos, not in embellishing and emboldening its rise.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your testimony. At that point, he offers you to climb down.
I'm going to hold up the lectern and be like, this was retrieved in the beneath the Tavern of the Sword and Flail, where chaos worshippers were. It's evidence exonerating Bauer, because this is where the book had been held, and see that there's a chain here, and that if you go there, there are creatures there. There's also blood at the bottom. I'm going to show the blood at the bottom.
Okay. probably not Matthew Bain because where you're sitting, you probably can't see him. But the rest of you give me another perception check in regards to Klaus Liebnitz.
I'm definitely not holding this lecture for no reason, guys.
I'm bringing
It's
a
your
schedule
comfort.
next
It's
time.
your comfort lecture.
Yes.
You hold it like a comfort blanket.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
Okay. Cad, you notice very subtly when he does that Klaus Liebnitz glances down at the book, and then you see him tuck a piece of chain that was in there's like a big metal ring in the bottom of the binding with a chain attached to it, and you notice he tucks that piece of chain like with his foot underneath the book so that it's not immediately spotted or noticed. It's very subtle, but you notice that little action from him.
Whoever's up next, make sure that book gets put on the podium. He just hit the chain.
Okay. He says, and how did you come about this lectern?
We went to the Sword and Flail the other night, to find evidence, and we infiltrated this cultist lair and liberated this lectern from two creatures that were obviously mutated and corrupted and out to kill us. I'm pretty sure they are what also attacked Bauer, because they were all teeth and claws, basically.
So you collaborate his story.
Yes.
This book was probably very much found, or was found, in the basement of the Sword and Flail.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you very much. This has been most enlightening. I think you'll all agree. You may descend the stairs up. Klaus Liebnitz raised his hand. I have a couple of questions.
I'm just going to put the lectern down like in front of everybody.
Okay.
Just leave it there.
So, you have been to this Sword and Flail and claim to have seen Eminence of Chaos, yes?
Yes, correct.
So you would verify that, to the best of your knowledge, that Jekyll Bauer had also been to this place.
And barely gotten out with his life, according to the patrolman that found him on the streets.
According to him, this was his story. I ask you a simple question, yes or no. Could you say without any doubt whatsoever that Klaus Bauer had been in this establishment, other than the fact that you believe it to be true because he said so? Do you know beyond shadow of a doubt? We must be very clear here, because a man's life hangs in the balance, as does the potential for rooting out chaos. So, yes or no, do you know without question that he did in fact go to the same place that you went?
I'm actually going to look at where I had emerged from the crowd to see where Johann is with the group.
He's gone.
Obviously, they're not there, but my eyes definitely flick. Well, you can't see my eyes. I have my helmet on. And I'm going to say yes, without a shadow of a doubt.
And what evidence or what proof have you, or that can you offer, that would back up this 100% assurity?
Besides evidence of the lectern and the creatures that Bauer and myself fought down there with my party.
But you fought them down there with Bauer?
No, afterwards. That's what I'm saying, like the same creatures.
But do you know they were the same creatures?
Yes, I do.
You know for fact?
Yes, I do.
Really? Interesting.
Wait for more of the defense to show, and you'll know why I know for sure.
Interesting smirk comes across his face, as you can kind of start to see his brain begin to tick. Yes. So a vibrant chaos place where one person was found and is on trial for worshipping chaos, and you were there too, and you're an acquaintance of his. This is most interesting. I cannot wait to hear more of these witnesses. Please, by all means, I have heard enough. You may return. And then he looks at Werner Stoltz, and Werner Stoltz looks back at him. And you start to notice that Werner Stoltz is beginning to lose a little bit of his composure, while Klaus Liebenitz seems to have squinty eyes and a very gleeful look on his face, like somehow he now has an ace in the hole.
As long as we can get that book on that podium and the chain links matched up before he tampers with the evidence.
Okay. You get about halfway down the stairs, and he pulls a Columbo on you.
No.
He says, one more thing.
Yes.
This helm of yours that once belonged to Graf Manfred von Todbringer? You do not seem to take it off. Why is this?
Because this city is infected with chaos, and I'm determined to kill as much of it as possible. And when I feel that the city is finally safe again, it will go to its rightful heirs.
You are here amongst an esteemed accompaniment of high priests, city watch, Platonic knights. Do you not feel safe here right now?
I feel safe with 3/4 of the company present. And let's be fair, this audience is looking for blood. So I'm going to keep it on until they're calmed down too.
I see. So if I was to ask you to remove it, just to prove the identity of who you claim to be, as we have not seen your face, so we do not know you are in fact the person that you claim to be, you would have no problem with this, just for a moment, just for a second.
But he's ugly.
And he kind of raises an eyebrow and looks at you.
I will if you show the book and put it back on the lectern where it belongs.
I do not believe that you are in position to make such demands. I have not in fact asked you to do so. I just said if I asked you to do so, would you be willing to?
And I said if you did ask me, I would then retort with what I said to show the book.
Okay, and if I decline to show the book?
Then I decline to remove the helm.
Okay. So if
Is it against the law to wear a helm for protection?
At that point, Werner Stoltz says, of course not. At which point, Klaus Liebknecht says, but it is indeed part of the law that we should be able to verify the identity of anybody brought up here to claim truthhoods. If I felt it was necessary, I could indeed order it.
Can I start to rile up the crowd near me?
You can. What do you want? How do you want to rile them up?
I mean, like, I just want to be like, man, this is boring. We don't need to see an identity. We're here for the trial, right? Like, this is the boring part. Like, get to the action. Why are we talking about a helmet? Like, it's a cool
why are we
helmet,
talking
but, like,
about a helmet? It's a cool helmet. Don't make him take it off. We can't see it if he takes it off. It's a cool helmet.
All right,
historical.
Okay, go ahead and give me a let's see.
Gossip?
Sorry?
Gossip?
Yep. Give me a gossip roll. I'd let you use gossip or charm, but really gossip is more applicable.
Gossip's better.
Yes.
A 1. Criticals. Okay. With that, several people go, yeah. On with the trial! Burn him! Burn him! Calm down, people! Calm down, good people! We are getting to the trial! Ah! You're wasting time, bloody politicians! Ah! No more questions! You may go! And he ushers you down the stairs, as you can feel the beads of sweat, like, filling the base of the helm inside.
Oh,
very well done.
When he gets back to the group, I'm going to pat him on the helmet and just be like, that's the coolest helmet I've ever seen.
Oh, I'm going to crouch down a little bit, like, oh.
All right, that leaves 2 of you. So 1 or a 2, 3 or a 4. Who's left? Okay, here's the one. So next he says, for the third character witness, I would like to bring up the third member of this group. That, I believe at this point, Klaus Leibniz could also testify, has been exemplary in aiding the Churchhood of Auric in various different matters. So, if you, the Church of Auric, hired or recruited these people to fight chaos for you, obviously you wouldn't have done so if you had any suspicions that they were chaos worshippers themselves, no? No, of course not. Fine, just we wish to establish this. As I continue to not only establish the credibility of Jacob Bauer, but also of these character witnesses that I call forth. With that, we have heard from two of our elven brethren. Now we will hear one from the little folk, who may have an entirely different perspective, no pun intended, on the situation. I would like Odette, I'm afraid I do not believe I has her last name. Odette, are you here, Odette? You are part of the company, accompanying,
Sorry, she's a halfling. It's gonna take. Hold on, she can't see her hand. It's at head level.
I'm gonna turn to the group and I'm just gonna be like, keep him safe until it is time for him to go up. Perhaps move once I'm called up. And I'm gonna
if you call for the witness, we'll bring him up.
So
Okay.
I'm gonna leave them with those instructions.
So get the book on the lectern. Make him do it.
Okay. So you work your way down,
Yep.
and he invites
Takes a
you
little
up.
while.
As you get to the stairs, Werner Stoltz, much to the brief comedic moment of everybody that give a very slight laugh, like a underlined like giggle. As you get to the witness lectern, he puts an upturned box behind it so that you actually could be seen when you stand on it. Even then, you're only like head and neck above the top of the lectern that everybody can see.
I'm gonna stand super tall.
He looks at you and he says, "So, my little friend, you are also acquainted with Jacob Bauer and his comrades?
Yes, I am.
And I believe we have heard enough from the situation of how you know him. You were working for the Church of Ulrich to find and capture and, of course, bring back to destroy." And he kind of like nods as he looks at Leibniz, trying to like verify, I'm not casting anything here. He says, "A chaos artifact. And then you were hired also to try to stop the spread of, from what we now understand, to be tainting of poisonings of the well.
Yes.
So, you have dealt with Herr Bauer on two very important and meaningful missions for the stopping and destruction and prevention of chaos. Is this correct?
Yes.
And during this time, did you ever find him anything other than true to his word?
No.
Did he ever do anything that would make you think that he was purely in this for himself, his own personal gains?
No.
But how would you describe Jacob Bauer? Obviously, we can all see he is a strong, tall, foreboding man, but beyond this, what is your impression of him as a person and as a witch hunter?
He is very thorough in his work. He is committed to preventing the spread of chaos, and he has assisted us on more than one occasion where if he had not, we would not have been able to succeed.
I see. So to you, the idea that he was in league with chaos and was carrying around a forbidden book is, other than the fact that he was bringing the book for examination, identification, and destruction is preposterous.
Well, certainly. If someone were to find such an artifact, should they leave it where they find it? Or is it wiser to bring it for destruction to the church? Is that not what he is supposed to do?
You say that, and he is about to agree with you when Klaus Liebenitz says, that would depend on who found the book.
Okay, then who found the book?
He says, and this is the point. It was a witch hunter. Should it have been a member of the commonality? No. We would have expected them to flee in terror and go and inform the authorities. But a witch hunter? No. He takes the book, secures the book, and means to bring the book for destruction. And then Leibniz says, kind of very aggressively, or he acquires the book and intends to take it home to study for himself. And then, again, the crowd is like, chaos worshipper, burn him!
If that were the case, could we not say the same thing about the artifact that we retrieved for you? Or the book that you now have in your possession, that you have brought out here as evidence?
The book that we brought, yes, this book that we have, our first exhibit, is indeed the book that we found in possession of Jacob Bauer.
Yes, it is. And you now have it in your possession.
We do. It is required to be here for evidence, but as soon as this trial is concluded, it will be destroyed.
Is it going to be destroyed, or is it going to be sealed in a box like the other artifact?
It is a book. It will be destroyed. The artifact that you say in question is a skull of brass, and not so easily destroyed.
I just wanted to ensure that it was going to be destroyed.
Of course
that is why we all want to be here.
Exactly.
Can we see the book again?
I think we have already seen the book. There is no reason to see it a second time.
I mean, it was supposed to have sat on this pedestal here. I just want to see if it matches.
I do not see the need. At which point Werner Stoltz says, I do not believe why I have indulged you interrupting me and cross-examining. I do believe that this is still my witness. And as a representative of the defense, I would like to see this book again, and indeed see if it does indeed match up with the chain upon the lectern. Fine, says Werner Stoltz, and he goes and reluctantly gets the book and brings it over and just kind of like puts it next to the lectern. And at that point you see Werner Stoltz like pick up the chain hanging off the lectern and pull the chain of the book and put the two together. And he says, look at this. It would appear that a large, heavy implement was used to sever this chain. No doubt with many strikes by the looks of it, because there are several dents to the left and the right. He says,
that's what we thought.
I do believe that Jacob Bauer was also in possession of a large two-handed axe. If it would please the court, I would like to request that Jacob Bauer's possessions be brought to the courtroom for examination. And all the judges kind of like gleefully nod. And at that point, they dispatch a couple of members of the City Watch to go and acquire such a thing. He says,
Man, leave it to all dead. This is getting good.
He says, very well, I appreciate your time. You may return to your friends.
Oh, that was it?
And he looks at Klaus Liebenitz. He says, unless you have anything else to say. Nope.
Are you sure? I mean, I can answer any
I have no
questions
questions for you. You may go.
Really? But you asked questions of all the others.
He says, yes, but you are going to say the same things that they said, so there is no reason to question you. You may please leave the stage. We need to continue this trial.
Well, very well.
Very
well.
Do you have any more witnesses, Stoltz? I do. I have a fourth witness that I wish to bring. As I said, we have heard from Elzen brethren. We have heard from Hasling brethren. Now we will hear from a member of the Empire. I'd like to call Bathilda Rosemond to the stage. For witness, Matilda Rosemond.
I'm gonna quietly start making my way up there, not saying anything or even looking at anybody else in the party.
Okay.
Really quick, I'm going to try and get her attention to be like, you know, he's being corrupt. The church is good. If a spot opens up, they're going to be looking for someone.
I'm gonna stop when he says that, and I'm gonna turn and look at him, and I'm just gonna give him this just the most look of the most betrayed, hurtful expression, and not gonna say anything, and I'm gonna turn back around and continue walking.
Okay. When you get down there, he removes the box. They ask you to do the same thing. Tell the truth in the name of the Emperor and in Ulrich and Sigmar, blah, blah, blah. He says, so, much like I asked your friends, there is no reason for you to go over the details of how you know Jacob Bauer, because I believe it has been very well established. You are a, somebody who has seen a fair share of warfare or combat, I would say, yes?
That's right.
So, you have an accent. Could you tell me where the accent is from?
I hail from Utengard.
Ah,
Or I
Utengard,
did.
yes. Is it not true that the reason you first came to Middenheim with your friends, your comrades, was because you brought a small group of starving Ne'er-Well refugees to the city to save them from imminent destruction, as Utengard, as we now know, was overrun and virtually destroyed by beastmen? Is this true?
It is.
So, having been in a situation where you have fought chaos, you have a different perspective. How would you say that Jacob Bauer would be as a brother in arms? Is he valiant?
He does his job, and he does it well.
So he is efficient. Brave?
He is efficient at the job that he is set to do.
And in your understanding, what is his job?
To make sure that chaos does not spread.
I see. And at any point, would you have doubted that he was about this task? Or that perhaps he may have, as I've asked your associates, ulterior motives or any indications that he may have an unhealthy attachment to chaos?
Not at all.
I see. And since you have been here in the city, you have yourself had your fair share of battling against chaos. At any point did you feel tempted to lean yourself towards the favors of chaos?
Not knowingly.
Not knowingly. So no. Excellent. Is there anything you would like to add as the fourth and final member of this group? Is there anything that you believe we should know about Jacob Bauer or circumstance that we have not discussed or disclosed here?
I think that my companions have spoken to his merit and his work ethic.
He says, well then, there are no more questions. Herr Leibniz, he says, oh yes, I have several questions. Leibniz walks over and comes over and he kind of like leans on the lectern uncomfortably close and looks at you. He says, "Now, you mentioned, as your friends mentioned, that you had worked for the Church of Ulrich in the acquisition of a vile icon of corn. Do you recall when we first called you to the temple, how we knew about the evidence of such a thing? Do you recall why we knew this thing was somewhere in the woods, not too far from your old home, incidentally?
There was a priest at the temple who had
Visions, yes?
That's right.
Father
That's what we
Odo.
were told.
And you accompanied Father Odo to the temple, where you found this chaos artifact.
We did.
And you retrieved it.
Yes.
And it was as you were leaving that you stumbled across the witch hunters. Did you not
Yes,
find
we
it
were.
very coincidental that witch hunters would happen to be in the woods at the same time as you were leaving with a very vile and prominent artifact?
No, because it's kind of their job to find vile artifacts.
But the only
And-
reason you knew the artifact was what it was because you had an old priest who was receiving visions to let us know that it was there. How was it that you perhaps think that these witch hunters might have known this thing was there?
I assume that they were sent by Sigmar.
So, they were sent by the Church of Sigma. Do you know why they were sent?
They were sent specifically because we were looking for something. They were looking for us.
So they were looking for you, not the artifact itself.
That's right. They said that they were looking for us. We ran into them after we were being pursued by beastmen in the woods.
I see. And once you had gained this item, pray tell, how did you manage to avoid its allure? How did you manage to ensure that in no way it had a chance to leak corruption on you and your comrades?
Well, we weren't really given much details about what to do about it. Once we found it, we were
So
just
what
kind
did
of.
you do?
Well, we wrapped it up and we put it in a knapsack.
Did at any point anybody touch the artifact?
Not with our bare hands, I don't believe. I've slept a lot since then, but
I see. At any point did anything strange happen?
oh yes, one of the Father Odo's friend, the squire, Sir Tristan, I think it was. He was influenced by it. We had to grab him a few times to keep him from running off with it. He ended up getting killed in the battle with the beastmen, though.
Oh, he was killed. But he tried to steal the artifact from you numerous times.
Twice, I think.
Twice. Did he touch the artifact at any point? Did you hand it to him to hold?
Did I hand it to him? No.
But did he ever lay hands on the artifact?
I mean, he did grab it one time, so I assume maybe he did.
Why do you think he grabbed the artifact? Because he was in league with Chaos, yes? And he was working for...
No, he wasn't in league with it.
Right.
It was, it's an artifact. It influences people. It talks to the people.
I see. So it's not necessary for you to touch the artifact for it to be able to influence you.
Didn't seem to be.
I
He
see.
grabbed it because it was talking to him. It just didn't want to talk to us, I guess.
You mentioned earlier that as far as you knew, you had not been influenced by chaos.
This isn't good, old that.
I see.
As far as I know, I've had complete control over my faculties.
I see.
Would I know? Would I know if chaos was in me?
Perhaps you would, perhaps you would not. I mean, I myself have never been tainted by chaos, so I do not know.
You haven't?
No, not have been.
Never?
I have not been tainted by it, no.
I see.
But you are carrying this artifact back to Middenheim and escorted by the witch hunters. Is this correct?
When we run into each other and we let them know, you know,
We need a room
we're on a
now.
mission coming back to Ulrich.
And they escorted you back.
Yes.
I see.
They didn't try to take it from us or nothing. They didn't want it. They just wanted to make sure that we
Right.
made it back without getting, I guess, talked to by it.
But now, Tristan, you say he was a young squire.
That's right.
Would you say he was naive?
Oh, for sure. I don't think that he had seen much
Probably
battle.
as being naive, probably also fairly weak-willed, yes? And
I
this is
mean,
no doubt
sure.
why the lure of chaos was able to seep into his brain, and I'm sure Tristan, up until the point of the artifact, had he done anything to act like he wanted to steal from you, or acted in an unpleasant way?
Not at all. I admired him.
So it
even
wasn't
though he was
until
a little
the
naive.
artifact come close to him that suddenly he changed and wanted to do bad things, like steal a chaos artifact and run away with it.
I don't know why it talked to him and not none of us. I had it on my back.
Well, I ask you a simple question. At any point, do you believe it tried to talk to you? And perhaps you were just strong-willed enough to block it out?
I mean, I don't, if I'd remember that, I mean, it's possible it could have done it and I don't remember.
So if it is possible it could have done it to you, but you do not remember, it is also possible it could have touched your friends. I'm not saying it did, but just saying it is possible. And by extension, if it was able to touch your friends, then perhaps it was able to touch the witch hunters and Herr Bauer.
It was really obvious when it happened, though.
Obvious because
And
the
he
boy
didn't remember
was
afterwards,
weak-willed.
neither.
He was weak-willed. Oh, so he did not remember. I see. So I put it to the court that we should have understanding. So perhaps Jacob Bauer was not a chaos worshipper. He was not somebody that we should cast hatred upon, but perhaps instead, simply by initially doing his duty, become exposed to chaos and, without realizing, became corrupt.
You mean by the skull?
Yes, indirectly. And if this is the case,
And we'd have to purify him, that asshole.
then it would not be such a thing that he did it deliberately. Perhaps it is just unfortunate that Jacob Bauer was contaminated.
Yeah, but see, the skull's been in your possession. And if it can still control him, even though it's in your possession, I don't think that means you're doing a very good job of keeping it under wraps.
Well, the thing
What happened
is-
to Odo? What happened to Odo in the Church of Ulrich?
Didn't he turn into a purple monster and attack a bunch of people at the church?
Okay, you're gonna start yelling that?
Yeah.
All right, give me a gossip roll to see if you're trying to if you're trying to get the crowd to go along with you.
Oh, shoot. This is really bad. No. Yeah.
Okay. Either one of you want to re-roll?
14% chance. Let's do it.
It might be.
Do
It might be life or death.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
Like, can I
I was gonna say your chance is extremely low. So
Nope. Yeah.
okay. Unfortunately, it would seem that the crowd is so enthralled with this line of questioning and the possibility that they might have latched on to how and
I
why
like-
Jacob Bauer was contaminated. They don't seem to be kind of like following on any of these
Yeah.
lines of leering.
Can I add to it?
Yeah, what do you want to do?
I want to add on, like, just kind of in a whisper to somebody who looks like they're kind of like, not the ringleader of the whole crowd, but a bigger talker.
Mhm.
I want to like whisper and be like, do you think that's why he's so hesitant to destroy it? He says he can't, but this is what they do, right?
Okay,
This
give
is
me a
the
roll.
church.
Please get it. Come on.
The elves have failed, but Odette will save us again.
It turns out gossip is a really useful skill, guys.
59. Okay, yeah, he says, oh, do you think? But,
Perhaps.
I mean, the churches they have wards and things to protect them from this stuff. Surely they
The
are
squire
beyond...
was one of the church. It affected the squire, who should have had the protection of the church and the priest, right?
But he was outside of the church.
He was, but he was there with the
The-
priest who was having visions.
The deputy high priest was only in contact with this item while he was inside the church. Surely, no. I mean, they have come in
As
contact
far
with
as
many
we
things.
know.
Surely not.
Why is
As
he
fa-
not
as far as we
destroying
know.
it? He keeps saying he can't destroy it, but this is what the church does, right? How many artifacts are they holding onto that they can't destroy?
Who knows? Maybe there are tons of items secured away at the base of the churches, and
Do you think holding them all together is safe?
I wouldn't be surprised if we could find some
perhaps
around the
not.
grounds.
Or perhaps this is not safe. Perhaps this is why chaos is beginning to lead into the city. Maybe all the churches are holding chaos items,
But
and
it did start near Ulrich. That's where the well was first found. They've even said so.
oh yes, I heard about the wells. The wells were poisoned.
Sure,
Perhaps
sure,
that's
that
how it
happens.
happened.
I hate this so much.
And now there's kind of like
Murmurs.
murmurs and mumblings begin to spread through the crowd that maybe there's way more chaos influence been brought into the city by the church hoods than anybody realizes, and maybe the churches are not capable of stopping it or protecting them.
Oh.
If only we
Okay.
had more witch
Not my
hunters.
intention.
If only we had more witch hunters around to prevent the churches.
Gossip is so difficult.
So, with that,
I hate this.
Klaus Leibniz says to you, he says, I do recall one of the things that we discussed when you came back with the artifact was that, and he seems to be doing this, you kind of noticed his ears like listening to the crowd partly as you were having these and yelling out some of these things. He says, you were brought back. And Father Odo drank a drink of water. And I do believe in your presence, and this water, this simple sip of water, mutated him into a terrible, terrible beast. Is this not true?
It is.
And we found that this had happened because the kitchen staff had recently drawn water from the well closest to the Temple of the White Wolf.
That's right. It was
And-
the one that supplies the whole place with water.
And at this point is when we said we must stop the spread of this. And this is what we hired you to do. And you did this.
That's
For the
right.
most part, you found that there was a cult that was harvesting warp dust and trying to deposit it into the city wells, and while you did more or less stop it, unfortunately it did seem that at least one other well that we are aware of did get poisoned, which is why there was some additional chaos mutations that have been seen over the last few days. But during this time, you had been in and around the churchhood of Ulrich. Is this not true?
It's true. I want to be a white wolf one day.
Precisely. You want to be a white wolf. Of which I have no doubt a lady with your capabilities and your integrity and your devout worship and loyalty to the white wolf and all of its commanders will not only see you anointed into our ranks, but swiftly rising from the lowest of the low to become even one of the Teutonic Knights themselves.
Was that a public bribe?
I was just thinking that.
Hey,
I
mate,
guess not.
it depends how you choose to take it.
That sounds like a bribe.
He says,
Deputy, I have to say, if I'm perfectly honest, I never liked the witch hunters. I don't agree
see.
with the way they do things
right. And why is this?
because they're not the white wolves.
So, do you believe, with what we have discussed, as easy as it was for someone to be corrupted by a sip of water, a powerful artifact that was capable of stealing the mind of a young initiate, when it was you, Father Odo, an experienced priest, and your friends, out of those people, it was only the young boy that was immediately influenced by the skull. Now, with this being said, perhaps the skull tried to accost your senses and failed, and it tried to accost the senses of your elven friends, and they failed, and it tried to accost the senses of your halfling, who all here know halflings have an unnatural resistance to such things. It had no other recourse. It felt trapped until the witch hunters came along. Now, let us examine the 3 witch hunters. First of all, their leader, Matthias, a very established witch hunter, a lot of experience, a very intellectual man. I would assume very, very strong-willed. And then a physician. Again, another man who have seen horrific injuries. Very intelligent, very learned, strong mind. And then there is Jacob Bauer, who is little more than a glorified anvil, axe wielder, or tool of destruction against chaos. Would it not be likely, if any of you were to be indirectly affected, it would be him?
I think his hate for chaos would be strong enough to fight off even the strongest artifact.
But such hatred could indeed be an opening to allow such corruption to seep in. Of course, we have no proof of this. This is about proof. So I merely offer this as a possibility of why, if this happened, poor Jacob should have our sympathy. Not our contempt and hatred. And at that point, the crowd actually boo him. They're like, "Ooh, boo." Quite right. Of course, you are right. After all, even my esteemed colleague, the High Capillary Werner Stolz, would admit that no matter how one becomes indoctrinated into the ways of chaos, the end result must be the same, even if it is not by choice.
You know, we're talking about people who are strong and can be trusted to come up against chaos, who would be strong against such things. And, you know, there are a lot of people that I wouldn't think would be tainted by chaos so easily.
This is, of course, but then some of them are strong-willed, have the willpower, or, much like the churchhoods, have their establishments protected and warded against such things. After all, and he starts pointing at some of these like pieces of paper that have like got huge big wax seals and pins attached to them that are hanging from his belt. And he goes, these writs of protections that I wear myself right now, much like the High Capillary, are here for very similar reasons. To protect us in our
And they
battle
work?
against chaos. Thus far?
So, would they not be able to be upon the person of somebody who is infected with chaos?
It is not that simple. These only work for those that are truly and highly connected and devoted to their deity. They are special gifts, as it were, adorned to the higher members of the clergy. But you have indeed been exemplary as a witness for my colleague Werner Stoltz and also for myself. You have told the truth and given a very clear and open understanding. You are free to depart the stage, and we thank you.
Can I ask a question?
There is no need.
I would really like to ask a question. I've
Let
done
her
so
ask.
much for the temple.
Okay, you will need the crowd to
Let
join.
her
You'll need the
ask.
crowd's
I
approval
know it's
to
a
get
little
that.
unconventional
So,
for the witness to
I
ask
will
a question.
Let her ask. Give me a gossip roll. Let her ask.
Let her
I will
ask.
push that,
Let
yeah.
her
I was gonna
ask.
say, I would push that for sure.
Okay.
I think we're all
Everybody,
cheering
give me a
at,
gossip roll.
I am all
I don't
for
have a good gossip.
her
at
getting what
all.
she wants from this.
Oh, all of you succeeded.
Except me.
Buttled
Aldet, Cadorel,
I
and
did
Matthew.
not.
Oh, hold on.
I failed.
Oh, okay. Well, but Cadorel and, amazingly, Cadorel and Matthew Bain, who are suck at gossip, did succeed. So clearly it was something that the crowd was very easy to influence to get behind. So yeah, within a few seconds there is a chant, let her ask, let her ask,
rest.
let her
Let
ask,
her
what
rest.
burns the
Let her
witch
ask.
hunter? finally he goes,
Let her ask.
we will allow the amusement, or for the amusement of the court and for the indulgence, as you have been a valuable witness, we will grant you the permission to ask this question before you depart the stand. What would you like to ask?
All right, so I'm just going to state as a fact, my party, me, my companions, we were very useful and loyal to the Church of Ulrich and did everything they asked of us.
This is true.
Why would you imprison us below the
Place on
church?
I do not understand what you are talking about. You were imprisoned?
Can I, like, start that gossip that I started before?
Which gossip?
So at the Church of Sigmar, when they were outside, I said I saw people being taken in and imprisoned,
Okay.
and someone had said they had seen it at that time. So
All right.
I would like to third hand, like I heard someone say they saw this.
Okay. Give me a gossip skill roll. You're going to need a lot of success because this goes against what the crowd wants. So
I know.
at least... but that I was about to
Oh,
say it
that's
will be
good.
considered hard, which means
I
you
just
get
wanted
minus
to roll
20.
it before I
But
knew.
with the minus 20, you still succeed. Okay. With the seeds of doubt that you have put in, while nobody is going to kind of be foolish enough to kind of jump on the bandwagon and start accusing the deputy high priest of lying, you have definitely got a rumbling of maybe they're all corrupt.
Oh,
Deputy High Priest, I want to trust you. I do.
If a high priest somehow could be corrupted, what chance do any of us have? So while you have indeed created the possibility of doubt, the fact that it is of such a high-ranking member of society also, while it helps your case in one hand, leads to the potential for worse situations on the other.
Yeah. The whole fucking city's about to explode.
He looks at you and he says, to my knowledge, this is not the case, but rest assured, if that was what happened, it would clearly be a misunderstanding, probably by some of my Teutonic knights that maybe perhaps identified you as trespassers or something like this. There may have been a misunderstanding, but
You looked me right in my eye, Deputy High Priest. I trusted you.
Again, I do not know what you are talking about. And then he stops and looks. I wonder. No, this is very important information. Werner Stolz, we must discuss a private matter after this. And he kind of goes over and leans in and whispers very quietly into his ear, with his hand tucked over, and Stoltz kind of looks at him, frowns a little bit, and nods. He says, my dear, perhaps what you believe happened? You have a reason to believe it, even if it is not in fact necessarily true. But you may have rightfully believed it to be true.
You go down underneath the church where the cells are. You'll find all the proof you need.
I see. Well, I will investigate this.
No. Not alone. You can't do anything alone. If you let him do it alone, he'll lie to all of you.
He says,
Oh no, shit.
I will not be lying to anybody. I believe, though, it is entirely possible that your eyes were lied to. And then he kind of leans into you and very quietly says, in the interest of not starting more trouble, I believe there may have been an imposter impersonating me. We will have to get to the bottom of this.
I'm going to lean up and I'm going to say to him, Ulrich knows what you did.
He says, surely you do not believe that for a second I would have had something like this done to the four of you after you were so implementary in helping us?
I didn't want to believe it.
But you do know
But
that...
I have to say, if you're right and it was an imposter, then this city's in way more trouble than you could have ever imagined.
I believe that it is entirely possible that to remove you from the streets and get you out of the way, the true architect of this whole thing may have masqueraded as me, knowing that you were working for me and trusted me, and deliberately went about their methods to try to undermine your trust in the Church of
talking
Ulrich
about?
and me. And at which point, Werner Stoltz says, this is a public trial. If there are to be discussions, they should be had openly. He says, quite. And then he just looks at you and just kind of like gives you a sideways nod and taps his nose. And says, no further questions. We must move on.
I'm going to stand up, and as I go to walk off, like to the people who are the closest to the front, just in the crowd, I'm going to say, believe in the word of Ulrich before you believe in the word of man. And then I'm going to...
Okay. All right.
Back to the group.
With all of that being said, now you have given character witness. Finally, the high capillary Werner Stoltz walks up, and now believing that potentially while he thought he was gaining a lot of ground, that maybe now some of it has been kind of shaken. Libra says, do you have any other character witnesses, or are we to just be entertained by a slew of people that happen to know Jacob Bauer? He says, yes, we have established that you believe he has good character. Can we move on? He says, I have one more witness. I would like to call to the stage for witness one Johann Opfer. And he kind of like just raises an eyebrow. Very well. Another character witness. Johan, can you come to the stage? At which point, he's kind of like just cowers and shrinks back and tries to duck below the crowd in amongst all of you. He goes, I don't want to.
You said you would do this to save the man's life. The man who came to save you and sent us for you.
Yes,
This
but
was what you said.
I don't want to incur the wrath of Herr Leibniz.
Would you rather see an innocent man who tried to save your life die?
I don't want to be killed myself. You heard him. He already cast aspersions that you might have been tainted by chaos. The fact that I was locked down in that place for several days, maybe he will think I am tainted for chaos and I will be on the fire to burn too.
I'm sure that's not the case since you're here to give testament that you're not.
You will need to give me a charm roll.
Charm.
Because he really does not want to go down into the crowd. Or through the crowd.
It's almost like a public trial is a
I'm
bad
gonna
idea.
reroll that. I'm gonna use my one reroll, guys.
Okay.
Sorry,
Come
my
on.
mic's in the way. Oh.
Okay.
Same
Yep.
roll?
No.
Okay. Yeah. You tried to kind of like gently convince and coax him down, but he's like, no. I'm sorry. I'm not a brave man, and I did not realize it was going to be so intense.
I'm gonna take out one of the tiny bells I use for a spell component,
Okay.
and I'm gonna ring it gently by his ear,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say, "This was gifted to me by the Sigmarian people. It's a ward against chaos. If you hold it and you ring it, you'll be protected for a little while, at least for the duration of this testimony. Trust me."
Okay. So you're going to try to
Hopefully. No, this is not gonna work. My fellowship sucks, but I'm trying it.
Yeah, it's going to be a charm roll.
All right. Come on, lucky 14 or lower. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, no. He says, but it may protect me now, but it will not protect me later when they come to burn me.
I won't let anyone burn you.
We'll be here when you get down, and you'll be within our protection.
If they let me down, what if he labels me a chaos sympathizer and ties me up next to Bauer, and I am also burned? No, I cannot have this.
Did you see this
I have
happen to
been
any
through
of
enough.
us? Did you see this happen to any of us?
No, but you were not locked down there with the chaos for days.
But we carried a chaos artifact for days as well. What I'm saying, and one which had much more power than whatever was in that basement with you. What I'm saying is, if you are to fold your hand now, you'll lose the game. They'll have had their victory over you one way or another. Will you go on in your life feeling like you've totally wasted every moment of it,
We've
knowing that you
slaughtered the
sentenced
things
a
that were
man
down
to
there
death,
with you.
despite his attempt to save you and our eventual saving you, knowing that we needed this moment from you, just this one, and from this point you will be free. If anything is to come down, it will be on us, not you.
And you're saving Middenheim. You're saving the entire city with your testimony.
This isn't a matter of fear, this is a matter of duty.
Okay.
For the Emperor.
I'm gonna offer. I'll be like,
I'll give you a
I'll
fair.
walk
I think
the
that's a
edge of
fair second or a different line of attempting to con him into doing it. So I will give Cadorel a charm roll.
Oh, God.
I know you're not very charming either.
channel old debt when she's fighting things.
Nope.
No.
I'm going to re-roll it.
No.
Because we gotta. We're C for charm. I learned my alphabet again, guys.
Oh! He pulls it off. MVP. Oh man, that was a moment.
If he didn't testify, he'd be screwed.
Okay, he looks at you and he says, "Really? I will be saving the Empire.
Oh, the Emperor?
Come, Johann. This is time for you to be made of sterner stuff. Yes, right. Compose yourself. Show me the way.
I'm gonna hold my hand
And
up
he's
and
still
kind of.
noticeably quivering as
I'm
he
gonna feel bad if this dude gets killed.
I know.
he awkwardly goes down to the podium.
Yeah,
And he gets
I'll
there.
wave my hand and like pull him up front since he's following along and get him up front.
So he gets there, and Werner Stoltz says, "So, Mr. Opfer, is it true that you were rescued from the basement of the Sword and Flail Tavern, where you were held against your will in a dark, damp, locked cave? It is true. And how on earth did you become to find yourself there? Well, I am a simple burgher from Middenheim. And I was merely enticed by a couple of people off of the street to come in, make merriment, and have a drink. And I must admit I drank more than I usually do. And I found myself in a strange room where I was not sure how I got there, but it was very strange because I felt like this floor was up and the ceiling was down. I had no idea I was this drunk. And I could hear what sounded like jeering and laughter. And then, eventually, there was a bed, so I laid in it and, I believe, fell asleep. Then I awoke, and I found myself in this dark, dank room, and I could hear strange noises. And at some times there was weird chanting could be heard, and strange growlings and hissings from bizarre, unnatural things, which, as I was freed, I saw hideous, mutated monsters that once were men. And I believe what I heard was the valiant Jacob Bauer fought his way in, fighting off against these creatures, and I heard the loud ringing of metal hitting metal, which I believe is probably when he used his axe to cut through the chain. And I do believe we now have this axe here in the courtroom. Is this correct? I would like to bring the axe forward for our second exhibit. Notice the indentations upon this axe, where recently it has been used, no doubt, to thrash and bear the metal of the chain. In fact, if you look at the indentations, they are exactly the size to fit the loops of the chain itself. And he kind of like matches them up for all to see. He says, this, I believe, proves the evidence that Jacob Bauer hacked this book from the lectern, much like he says he did, and would be corroborated by the sounds that Johann Opfer heard. But please continue. Well, I was left. I heard him battle his way out, and it was shortly after that a familiar voice come down and was enraged. My book, he said, my book! And he was very upset that someone had taken this book. And then he gleefully said, but don't you worry, you in there. You will be sacrificed to the god Korn to appease him, and soon you will die in Korn's name. And as shortly after that, as I lay in fear, it was that the four people that stood witness before me came down and rescued me. And when they did, I saw as I left that there was an altar of skulls, a place of sacrifice covered in blood, and people that would been there had obviously been worshipping the ruinous powers. And as I said, I saw these hideous chaos-mutated creatures. And I truly believe that what I heard was a man battling against the forces of chaos, not in link with them. It says, no doubt, a proper investigation of the basement of this tavern will collaborate this story. He says, we also would like to point out the lectern, which, from what I understand, you will find additional evidence to place the lectern at this scene, thus proving that it was there initially and did indeed contain the book. So at this point, I put it to the court that it is far more feasible that Jacob Bauer's story that he came into this place because he believed it to be rooted by chaos. He battled his way valiantly through the forces of chaos and took the book and was on his way to bring it to us to be destroyed, but succumbed to his wounds is far more believable than the likelihood of an esteemed witch hunter in league with chaos itself. And with that, you hear some of the crowd, well, he does have a point. But I wanted a witch trial. I wanted a burning.
I would like to encourage the voices that are like, he's right.
Okay. Give me a gossip roll.
That's my goal. I'm going to listen for him and I'm going to jump on him.
Alright, go for it.
This is going to work.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Okay, yep. A few more do start saying, they start getting behind the, well, sounds like it could have been true. I mean, we do need witch hunters. And, well, it's very true. I mean, what would a witch hunter do with such a book? Of course he would have to carry it away to be destroyed. And, there is a semblance of minority of the crowd now that have kind of started to lean a little bit more towards the possibility of leniency towards this guy.
Yes.
At this point, Klaus Leibniz seems to have a very unhappy scowl on his face. And at that point, he says, well, I had hoped to avoid having to do this, because this will implicate far more than Jacob Bauer, and unfortunately, will cast the aspersions of guilt on much larger fish. I would like to bring to light some evidence, but before I do so, I would like to call one of the 4 character witnesses that you had here earlier to the stage to enlighten us with this tale. And this will be only one of you, and it will be completely random. And it is going to be Cadilrel. He says,
Okay.
Let me see, who was the name?
This guy does not
Cadilrel,
like
are
me.
you still here, Cadilrel? Come forth.
But of course, I'm gonna start walking out like, oh, Oldette, you've got my back from the crowd, right?
As much as can be possible, yes.
This will be interesting.
Just come, Cadilrel, we are running short on time. We must conclude this trial.
What happens if we run out of time? As I walk up for the Emperor and walk up.
Who's declared a mistrial? We all go home. Oh, okay.
Let me think about the next question until the sun goes down.
Okay. Once again, you're asked to be sworn in. Blah, blah, blah. I tell the truth, such or such. He says, now then, I has it on good authority that when you first came to the city of Middenheim, you were in possession of a particular artifact. One that conveniently has not been mentioned until now. Is this
Well,
true?
it has no relevance to the current case.
I believe it does. As it will be made clear shortly. But first of
Do you
all,
know
as
where
I
it
said,
is?
I would like you to answer the question. Did you bring a certain item, an artifact, that you were given by a priest of Sigmar and instructed to bring it to the churchhood of Sigmar specifically, and not to give it to anybody other than the churchhood? Is this true?
I, again, failed to see the relevance. but
That is not the question. The
Right.
question is, did you indeed bring the book? Bring the item.
And if you'll let me continue my general speech pattern, I understand there's not much patience among humans as to the elven courts, which generally take days. I understand this crowd would not care for that. We did ascertain this as a dying wish of a dear friend from Uttengard. He was the priest there,
Right.
and we came here with refugees, fleeing from the forces of chaos.
That has been
Yes.
established already.
Yes, yes.
So you
and
did indeed bring an item
We brought his
to
item
the churchhood
to
of
the
Sigmar.
Church of Sigmar as requested, yes.
Right. So you just simply
Which
did
was-
what you were told.
Yes, and then we later found out that there was some sort of plot involving several murders and chaos and things, which got us tied up into a chaos hunt ourselves, then turned us into the vigilance we are against chaos
I
as
see.
we are.
Do you recall what this item was?
It was an icon, a painting, an image of Sigmar himself, predated to potentially the days when Sigmar himself was alive among us.
When you took this item to the churchhood, did they acknowledge it with some reverence?
Incredible reverence, yes. It was,
Incredible reverence, I see.
It
And
was a holy artifact, yeah.
did they publicly let everybody know? Oh, look! This glorification of our god Sigmar has been brought forth! Was there rejoicing upon the streets?
There was rejoicing within the churchhood. I suppose they were probably likely to send it to another church where it would be taken, and a
And-
higher church within the kingdom, yes.
So when you brought it into the church, their first impulse was to say, "Oh, behold! Everybody gather around! Look at this item of reverence for the
Well,
church."
we were told by the priest we received it from. His dying wish was to keep it secret, keep it sacred, and get it to the church. So keeping it secret was part of his dying wish.
I see. And once you got it to the church, how did they continue to keep it secret?
They kept it safe as best they could.
And, do you recall which priest or what member of the Sigmarite churchhood it was that you gave the book to?
This is the trouble with elves. We're bad with names.
He says, it's okay. I already know. But it was one particular priest. And you were ushered to a private chamber. And there he said that no one should know about this book. And he wanted to look at it and examine it. And then you were ushered away.
I don't know if those were his exact words, but if you happen to know they were his exact words,
No, I do
that's
not
a
know that
little
there was
suspicious.
exact
of me.
words, only
Yeah,
the
it's a-
suggestion of the implications of what was implied.
I don't know exactly the conversation that happened. It's been several weeks since then, and I've been through quite an ordeal with your church, as it
I
were.
understand. But is it in... let's simplify the things then. Is it true that it was strictly a priest of Sigmar that was in charge of the item, and that it was not made publicly known that it was in your possession or what it was to all the priesthood?
What does this have to do with the incrimination of Jacob Bauer?
Answer the question.
Well, please, what does this have to do with the incrimination of Jacob Bauer? I've been nothing but a good witness for you, sir.
And you will continue to do so as long as you answer the questions. Understand, you are a witness. You are here to answer questions.
Yes.
The requirements of this question will be made very clear.
Right.
Werner
So
Stoltz at that point says, I must confer, what does it have? And he looks at he goes, and he kind of says to the judges, I have a piece of evidence to bring forth, but until I do so, the context of this evidence must be established. If you will permit me to continue, I promise the court, as I have never done so in the past, I will not waste your time. I trust my good standing with the court in the past should afford me such a small, minor indulgence. And the jury looks at each other, or the judges looking, they nod. He says, then I ask you, please answer the question.
Please provide the question. I've forgotten it like a name.
He says, is it true that it was more or less a single priest that took temporary, let us say, ownership of the artifact?
After multiple priests were aware of it, yes.
Right. But at
We
no
have
point was
processed
any
through the
kind
church.
of proclamation that they had this item. Was not made.
There wasn't a public proclamation, as it wasn't yet ready to be proclaimed.
And it wasn't even something that they called members of the churchhood to gather around and see the witness of this thing. I have it on authority from several priests of Sigmar that while they do recall you brought an item in, it was kept very quiet and you were ushered off down a side chamber. That they themselves never even knew what this item was.
Something of high value might want to be protected. In such
Precisely.
fashion.
So simply answers the question, yes, this is what happened. For whatever reason.
It does feel like a shallow acknowledgement of the occurrences. I mean, there were other priests involved. We did have communication with them. We said
And
we were
can
given
you
this.
remember
and
who these priests were?
not
how many of them there
specifically? I can't place them exactly, but what I'm saying is this is a very bare bones assessment of what happened.
Okay.
One which might be ignoring some of the circumstances
there
involved.
was indeed a limited amount of exposure.
What does happen if we run out of time?
There was a limited amount of exposure of the acknowledgement of this item. Is that more of a fair assessment?
It was kept under some control, as we
Fair
weren't
enough.
entirely sure as to the nature of the item. They wanted to get it fully assessed. The frame was viewed upon, I think, by the Dwarven Guild to see as to what date it was, because the frame it was found in was of Dwarven nature, and it was placed in the time period which would set its value higher, which, again, more reason perhaps to protect it.
It says, I see. But we have established, and correct me if I say anything here that you do not agree with. We have established that an artifact was brought to the Church of Sigmar that they revered with great reverence. Is that correct?
Yes, upon the dying wish of a priest.
Right. And that, as best to your knowledge, this was some icon to be revered by the Churchhood of Sigmar itself.
Yes.
Good. Well, I have no more questions. You are free to go.
Can I stay?
Well,
Is
no,
that
no.
allowed?
Nope.
Is it allowed for me to say? I may go.
Unless
but-
Werner Stoltz has any additional questions for this man. He says, do you, Werner, acknowledge these events? I do. It is true. He says, good. Then I need you to vacate the witness box, if you would, please, Caterel, for I need to call my next witness. I call to the stage High Capillary Werner Stoltz.
That's
And at
not
which
the
point-
Skaven I was expecting.
All of the judges look like... And the crowd's like, ooh. Werner says, this is most irregular for you to call the member for the defense to the he goes, but it is my right, is it not?
And a witness call a witness. Is that
He says, I've asked you to please vacate. If you
right?
do
I
not,
just want to.
will
I just
order
want to
you
know
defense."
if we're shaking up things here. I mean, I'd like to talk to Ulrich
And
over
he
there.
slicked his fingers towards a couple of guards.
Fine,
begin to
and then I'll walk
towards
off. I'll
you.
walk off.
Okay. He says, Werner Stoltz, if you will indulge me. Certainly. He says, this questions that I asked your elven friend, he said, is any of this not true? No, it is all very true. I will ask you, if such a proud and revered artifact was brought to you, for example, if somebody brought one of the most revered items from the churchhood of Ulrich, we would be in great reverence to let all of our worshippers know that this item had been found, and we would be proudly proclaiming it. But this is not what you did. You had it ushered away. I specifically did not, but we believed it was necessary to keep it under ad. But you confer what was said. This is what you did. He says, well, yes, but obviously because we wanted to verify that it was in fact what we believe. He said, can you describe this object? Well, I never actually laid eyes on it myself, but if it is what we believe, as Adderell says, I do recall that it was encased in a golden frame of dwarven manufacturing to protect it, and it would have been a hand painting of Sigmar himself from the very time of Sigmar when he walked amongst us. He says, I see. And at that point he nods to this kind of like gnarly looking member of the Ulrichian church who brings over a small box. He says, I would like to represent the Church of Ulrich as I bring forward and returned to you this item. But before I do, I would like to show it to the court. He carefully opens up the box and reaches in and lifts out a piece of thick vellum parchment, frayed around the edges. Holding it kind of to his chest, he then turns and shows the icon to the judges, and then slowly waves it around. And as you look around, it does indeed look like he in fact has the icon that you brought to the church.
I hate this man.
He then spins very suddenly
Killed
and
him.
shows it towards the high capillary where it starts. He goes, is this the revered item that you greatly revered, that you so desperately sought the return of, and made absolutely sure that nobody else inside the churchhood, other than a select few, knew was in your possession? Is this something that you did not allow those that worship the Church of Sigmar, that would glorify themselves and bathe in the light of such a holy relic, to know about? Well, yes, but for the reasons we have said. He says, I see. Then is it in fact because, and he spins it around and holds it up aloft to where you can see etched on the back in blood is an icon of corn. He says, because this item has and always has been tainted by chaos, and you, Werner Stoltz, an agent of chaos, hiding underneath the guise of the Temple of Sigmar, are indeed the culprit behind the Order Fidalis, and why these witch hunters of yours gallivant around acquiring items of chaos to bring to you, yourself, for your own gatherings and worshippings, and you are the leader of all of the secret cults in operation here in Middenheim!
Is he holding it with his bare hands?
He's holding it in one bare hand. Well, bare glove, yes.
Dang it. I was gonna
That came from Utgard. That wasn't a bad thing.
as at this point, the implication that the Church of Sigmar may be somehow behind all this, the crowd now are starting to lose their shit. Because now, there's already been a seed of doubt sowed that the High Priest of Ulrich and possibly the Church of Ulrich is somehow contaminated by chaos because of certain rumors that people throw around.
Yes.
And now, there's all this stuff going on where the Church of Ulrich is casting the aspersions on the Churchhood of Sigmar.
Can I
But
turn them back?
anybody can draw a
well-
symbol on the back of something.
It's the entire crowd at this point, which, bear in mind,
Pokey, don't stop
completely
clipping
goes
the mic.
all the way around. And because this crowd wants blood, they don't need proof beyond that. They don't need evidence. But now all of their beliefs, all of their trust has been thrown into question. Immediately, you can hear over the screaming of the crowd, this is preposterous! This is fabricated! You have desecrated such a sacred item just purely to try to further your disgusting political leverage!
Who are they screaming at? Because it could be either one of them at this point.
No, that's
definitely
that's
from
like Werner Stoltz screaming at
Stoltz.
Leibniz.
Okay.
But at this
Yeah.
point, the crowd is starting to become very mobile. People are starting to push, shove. Next to you, I always knew that Sigmar was behind this. Hail Ulrich! And poof, an Ulrichian worshipper punches a Sigmarite.
So I'm
Bastard!
gonna.
Next minute, a Sigmarite jumps on him.
I'm gonna
And this is becoming
yeah.
very, very prominent all the way around. Like, you guys are here, but this thing is like a football stadium, if you imagine that.
Oh, yeah,
the
I'm
whole
getting out of
crowd is
this.
starting to lose its shit.
I'm grabbing Odette's hand because
Okay.
she's the most likely to vanish in the crowd.
You hear someone scream, Leibniz is mad! We're led by a madman! Another screams, it's a plot to start a riot! Oh well! Someone else screams,
Somebody throws a
heresy!
chair.
More cultists in the city! Hangs them high! I promised my kids there would be a burning! Is somebody at least going to be burnt?
It can be you!
Down with Sigma! Middenheim forever! What did he say? All kinds of crazy things are being thrown around. The general gist, however, is it is breaking into an absolute mob rule. The City Watch are trying to hold back the crowds as they are attempting to storm out of the stands onto the pitch, proverbially. At that point, you notice that the High Priestess of Verna, the Lore Lords, Commander Hutzman all jump up. Leibniz, Werner Stoltz, City Watch rush around them, including Jacob Bauer, and they start ushering them towards the back, and then forming like a wall of defense with their pikes held out to keep people away. You can see that all of the people of importance are being kind of rushed down kind of to a little small exit door at the back, and they're trying to get them out for their own safety. What do you guys want to do?
I was at first going to try and jump to the defense of Stoltz, but he's accounted for.
Yeah,
No,
they're
I'm
all,
not
they're
helping
all
any of
being
these
kind of
fuckers.
rushed
I'm
out
getting out
by
of this.
the guards at this point. Like,
Okay.
they're no longer in control of anything.
Yeah, I intend to get people to hold each other's hands that are part of the party, including Johan, because he came down again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
To
got
get-
Johan.
So I'm gonna follow Bertilda. I'm gonna be like, hold hands, stay together. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope. I'm getting out of this mess. I can't hear myself think.
It's,
So much
it's like
for
a
the
ton of,
trial.
it's like a ton of kids at Six Flags being led round. Hold hands, children. Don't want anyone to get lost. And okay, so what are you doing from there?
I need to figure out where they hold public executions to make sure that someone isn't being executed before the trial is fully handled.
Public executions is usually right here. I mean, that's where
Okay.
you can see the big pyre that was built ready to burn poor Jacob Bauer. Incidentally,
Nice.
that's now on fire as several people in the crowd have torched it and made sure that it goes up.
Oh. He's like, I was shouting for a burning. Can I throw him on the fire? No.
Well,
Nah, I'm gonna leave it.
It does seem very clear that a small mob now has formed inside the rest of the mob. That you can hear them saying, "Somebody's gonna burn. Somebody here is guilty. Let's find them."
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
let's
leave
get-
time.
Let's
and then
get
you
away.
definitely hear someone say something about those 4 people.
Yeah,
that
we're
we're
leaving.
here.
No, we're not sticking around.
One of them might have been tainted by chaos.
Ted,
You heard
all
the
my-
high priest.
All I know is Tad probably sees my helm amongst the crowd as we're ascending the steps.
Follow
to
the
go
golden
up.
ball.
Actually, I'm gonna take my shirt off and put it over his helmet when
Oh, I
I'm
thought
like
you were gonna
catching
say you're
up.
gonna streak. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna streak. I'm gonna take the shirt off my back and just put it over his helmet so that it's not obvious anymore. Because you made a public appearance in that helmet and they're now looking for us. So,
Yeah,
you know.
so now you're
With a
looking
hood
for
over his head.
Well, people wear hoods all the time. It's just cloth. It's gonna blend in better than a big ass bronze helm that looks like a
It's like you're
beast
trying
man.
to usher him to his car to avoid the photographs of the paparazzi.
Yeah. Let's get the hell out of here.
Okay.
Is this the agitation you guys wanted?
So
No,
looking
nobody
at the
wanted
map,
this. Leibniz wanted this.
so the let me see here. Where's the? Yep. So, oh nope, don't want to do that. Put you back. Get back in. Get back in the. Right. So basically, it was. Right. This direction that's the way that they were led out. You know, the priests and the law lords, Leibniz, Werner Stolt, Bauer. They were all kind of like ushered out the back in this direction. Which way do you guys want to try to make your escape?
I'm following Bertilda.
Yeah. Then in that case, Batilda, which direction are you trying to make your escape? Because they're all going to follow you.
Well, shit, y'all. You know that.
It's more just you can push through the crowd better than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, you're bigger, you're armored, and you're shielded. You can shoulder barge
Honestly,
your way
I just want to
through.
go where there's no people.
Okay, well, the majority are all pushing to get in the direction that they went because they're trying to get down there to them, and there's the city watch is trying to hold a line, but it's very clear that they are going to break that line. There's just way too many people here and nowhere near enough watchmen.
Should we head to the city
But
watch?
the
They're a
the
neutral
easiest
party.
way out would be anywhere in this sort of direction.
Okay, yeah, that's the area then.
Okay, so you're gonna take the path of least resistance to get out. Okay.
Yeah.
Once you
We
break
don't want to
out
be
of there-
people, and there are people that way, so let's go where there's not people.
Okay. Where do you want to go from there? Where do you guys head?
Well, we announced the evidence at the Sword and Flail. There could be attempts to disrupt that, but also we need to get out of here.
I'm
the
not
City
leaving
Watch-
without my armor. We paid a ton of money for that.
I'm not
and
saying we leave the city. The trial's not over.
I'm ready to leave the city.
Leave the city since we got here. But we do have the one small issue of perhaps we got the dwarf into a little bit of trouble.
Oh, now we're worried about the dwarf.
I've been worried about the
We
dwarf.
were always worried about the dwarf.
Pressing things.
It's just that he was
whoa.
secondary to this, right?
There's
So,
only so much capacity we have at any given moment.
Well, the
So-
time for subtlety is over. We could just barge in at this point. I doubt there's anything there scarier than what we already found.
You really think after we spilled the beans on them that anybody is going to be able to accomplish anything cult-wise there anymore?
I would just rather not leave the dwarf after being somewhat responsible for him getting into that place.
We're kind of responsible for all of this, don't you think?
well, wait.
Not in the slightest.
Okay, how about this? The armorers are dwarves, so we could get your armor and also let them know. I mean, isn't that on the way anyway? Like Merchant District, and then we go north-ish,
Yeah,
northwest.
they're clear across the Great
Sword and
Park,
Flail is
opposite
right
sides
over
of
here.
the city.
You
yeah.
were like y'all are down
Oh.
this kind of way.
But we could stash Johann with the dwarves because they're trustworthy. I can't believe I just said
I
that.
don't think anybody in this town is trustworthy.
So we
I don't
want
know
to.
why I said it like that.
So
Well,
that's
the
not-
dwarf. I mean, the Engineers Guild, which are the dwarves, Again, they do still technically owe Oldet a honor debt.
Right, but I mean, we don't want to bring Johann back to the Sordid Flail to rescue the dwarf, right? We want to
No.
be sure he's safe.
Right. Do we
I
go
mean,
to?
where does he live?
We could
Like,
ask
doesn't
him
he have
where
a place to
lives.
go
He
to?
does have a place to go, yeah.
Yeah, Johann, where do you live here?
Do you need an escort? Can you make it there on your own?
At this point, he will gladly just leave you and go home if you'll let him.
I don't see why we would keep him.
Is there a quarter which you live in so we could find you again if the need arises?
Yeah, he basically says that he lives down in the Southgate Ostwald district.
If I were him, I'd get out of town.
You've done a great service.
What's wrong
Leibniz
with
is
my
insane.
basement? I
We
mean, it's
can all
probably
agree
better than
that.
here.
Probably have your whole town to yourself by now. Step around the people's skulls.
You can have my room.
Honestly, you've been a hero. Go rescue
Okay,
find
alright,
your family.
so Johann will go against... Now, what you are also noticing is because of the level of rioting that's going on, there are a lot of people from the city moving in the direction of the Great Park. So, anywhere you go, you are pretty much going against the flow of not an impassable crowd, but a large number of people.
Priorities. We need Bertilda to be as protected as possible because this place is falling apart, and we kind of would need her to not fall to an arrow to the knee, right? So let's go to the armor first and get that damn armor so we could, work on our next strategy after that.
If the dwarfs weren't at the riot.
The town guard are probably less concerned with protecting a haunted building. We could perhaps lay low there if we need a place to stay.
That's not a bad
That's
idea.
right. We never got to look in the brewery. Let's do that.
There
Side
might be-
quest.
There might be a
One track
few.
mind. I told you I was going there.
There might be a few spare libations, which I'm sure all of us could use one or two.
I mean, it is right across the street from a known poisoner place, so that's good.
I just think that they're
They'll
going to
never
be far less
expect it.
likely to be guarding the place. It's considered haunted, so people won't go near it. We can lay low there until things settle down enough for us to move, or until we come to a decision, so we're not standing in the street.
Fair enough. Armor first, then brewery.
But I also feel, for the sake of, it was, for all intents and purposes, a Mayfly's fair trial. The insanity within was caused by Leibniz and his unwillingness to surrender a lost
Oh
cause.
shit! Isn't the other witch hunter back at the Sigmar?
Both of
Yes.
us.
You
The other
should
two
be
witch
safe there.
hunters were supposedly
Don't see that.
they were being held awaiting the outcome of this trial, because bottom line is, if the Order of Fidalis is found guilty, they're all going to burn. Or
They
all
may
of
want to
them
get out of
again.
town.
Okay, so
Or
armor,
perhaps take them with us.
witch hunters, dwarf, brewery. A lot of options, guys, all around
Okay.
town.
So I mean, you know, the sword and flail is here. That's where you left the dwarf last night.
We haven't been paid for this work. We don't have the money for the armor yet.
The armor, it was down all the way over here,
You think he'll pay us
which
now?
is quite a way. And then the brewery was down here. And then the Church of Sigmar is here. So, and you guys are here.
Captain of the city guard was there. Ulrich. He was there as a judge. He knows us and how we work. He's as frank and
He was one that, he went out the back along with everybody. He was part of getting
Guys.
them all to safety.
The sworded flail is right there. We could just quickly save the dwarf.
Okay,
Let's
well, let's
do
go
that.
do that.
Let's do that. Let's save the dwarf, lay low, and then we'll reach out to the city watch to make sure they know we aren't trying to evade the trial, but given the circumstances.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna head to the sword and flail.
Sounds good. All right. You make your way, as I said, through a fairly robust number of individuals. And you get close to the sword and flail. Before you see it, you smell it.
Oh, great.
Oh no! Oh, I really smell it, don't I?
Oh yeah. What you, in fact, you give me a roll.
All right.
And it would be a perception, but it will be a smelling, so you get your bonuses because of your chaos mutated pig nose.
Well, he should be sober
Oh
by
my
now.
God! Come on!
Wow.
I'm re-rolling my last re-roll. 'Cause
Okay.
I don't think I should, but I'm doing it because I want to smell this. All right,
There
good.
you go. All right.
Just barely. What
Wow.
is
Well,
happening?
you, along with everybody else, can smell burning. However, in amongst that burning, your snout is capable of picking up other smells.
Oh no.
There's some alcohol
Oh well.
mixed in there. Oh, and some burnt flesh smell in there as well.
Now, does burnt dwarf meat smell different than
You're
burnt
not.
human meat?
You didn't roll that well to determine the difference between what kind of burnt flesh it is, but you can
Okay.
definitely smell the sickly sweet smell of burning flesh.
What are the
Once you
odds
get a
of
bit
somebody-
closer, you are able to see that the sword and flail is ablaze. It has been torched, and probably at least 30 or 40 minutes ago, by
wow.
the level of flames that is up. Almost as if, as soon as people started talking about the sword and flail, somehow word got out to burn the place to the fucking ground. And that's exactly what's happening. It
Oh,
is
I bet no innocent
aflamed.
people died from that.
Well, if it was set afire with people still in it, question is, were there
Alright.
people still in it, or was there just a dwarf still in it?
Oh,
Are you acting like a dwarf isn't people?
Why you gotta say it that way?
A dwarf is people.
Okay, at this point, charging down from the north, two Sigmarite priests, almost out of breath, come bursting into the alleyway. Like, this, Werner Stoltz says to bring you to the palace quickly. He said we would probably find you here.
The palace.
There's a palace.
Church.
They are all at the palace for safety. But we are to get you to the palace quickly. Werner Stoltz says it is imperative you come at once.
Okay.
So
It's always
the sword and
imperative
flail
that we
is
them.
completely and like you can't even enter it because it's so much.
It
fire,
is.
right?
It is. I mean, it is significantly ablaze. Yes, it's not like just recently gone up to where you
Right.
might be able to break in and get some people out. Although you can see flames through all the windows, roof timbers are dropping in.
I guess we go to the palace, right?
Poor old dwarf.
I smell burnt flesh in there, by the way.
Thank you.
And
Oh,
a lot
you
of
for that.
hair, a lot of burning hair.
Well, I didn't want to. I mean, you know, it's hopeless.
It was hopeless.
Maybe after it's destroyed, maybe he's in the dungeon where Johann was,
Hey,
right?
do we really want to go to the palace where asshole is?
no, not at all. But we don't really have much of a choice these days.
Wait, we're
Did
calling.
not go to the palace.
Wait, we're calling the Sigmarite Stoltz an asshole?
No, I'm talking about the deputy high priest.
Leibniz?
They're all at the palace.
Well, we could confront him and be like, "You obviously stole." I mean, how did he get the icon? He killed the guy and stole it, right?
Well, that or he got it from the Skaven that we defeated beneath the city. Because it was
Well-
before we got there.
Or they could just blame it all on us.
They had a soothsayer who could see the cursed skull of corn from miles and miles away. I don't find it altogether unlikely that they would be able to locate a precious holy artifact to degrade it. Either way, our disdain for Leibniz does not mean we should fail to appear when summoned to the palace.
my disdain for this entire city.
Wait, Gore, just a clarification of the sequence of events, because it's been a while.
Yep.
We took the icon from a priest who fell into a pit, whatever. I mean,
Yep.
to
On the road.
Sigmar.
Yep.
And then the guy who was assessing it was killed by a Skaven who took the icon away.
Yep.
We went to the tunnels after a long time, retrieved the icon, and returned it to the Sigmarites.
No, you never
No.
retrieved the icon. You
Never
only retrieved the
retrieved the
golden
icon.
frame.
The frame.
The icon
okay.
was never found.
Got it. My fault. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, that's right.
Which
Yep.
is why, as soon as
Which
you
is-
brought that up, I was like, oh, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the suspicion we all have is that the Skaven gave the icon to Ulrich guy, the Leibniz guy, who then painted it with the corn icon. I mean, that's okay.
the assumption.
Just putting it all together because it's been a
Yep.
while.
No,
Thank you.
absolutely.
That's right,
That
we
was
found the
my
frame.
assumption, at least, whenever
Yeah.
it came out. I was like, oh yeah, no, he's
Which
being
this
said-
this proves, by the way, that it wasn't the artifact that we brought back that tainted the deputy high priest. He was that way before.
Yes.
which is worse for Tilda, right?
Or Matilda.
Is that worse for her? Or is that better for her?
Oh, that's worse for her because it
Okay.
could just mean he's evil. He doesn't even have an excuse now.
Leibniz's actions today were enough to prove to me that he's undeserving of his office, the office which holds high
Okay.
regard and
So we've been summoned to the palace by Sigmarites who say that they're all there.
So we should go.
We should go because we can confront Leibniz, right?
worst
If he-
thing that can happen is we're executed by a king.
There.
Well, there's no
emperor.
king, but
Ah, all right.
Well, there's not an
there
emperor
was
either,
there was an
right?
emperor, but he's swanning off somewhere fighting chaos rather than being here taking care of
Oh,
the
perhaps-
craziness that's going on in
I mean,
his
but there's
city.
the princess, but she's been bumping uglies with the high priest. So, I mean, the deputy high priest. So,
According
The
to
actual high
rumors,
priest, I
yes.
thought. Not the
No, it was the
Not the
deputy high priest.
that's the deputy. Oh well.
That was the rumor.
All All right, right,
Well, then
let's
she's
go to
probably not so good either.
go to
She's
the
a
most-
little tainty as well.
so
Okay.
let's go to the most awkward gathering of people in the city.
All right.
Woo!
As you are ushered towards the great palace, you are witness now, because again, it takes you a couple of the size of the city. It takes you a while to get there, but you are now witness to the aftermath of the initial riot. There are people fighting people, Sigmarites fighting Ulrichians. You overhear several people on the way in the name of the White Wolf to be part of the storming of the Temple of Sigmar.
awesome.
And the two Sigmarite priests confirm it that, they couldn't get back to the Temple of Sigmar because it is surrounded by an angry mob and is currently being besieged by people calling for the heads of the Sigmarite priests and saying that they are all chaos worshippers. And they are responsible, as you know, for being those that brought about the chaos cult. As you kind of head down past the Great Park, to your shock and horror, over to the side where this small group of trees are, you see a Sigmarite priest being lynched.
What? No.
There's like a mob of probably 30 or 40 angry people all around him as they hoist a rope up into a tree, stick him on a stool. Now, if you wish to attempt to do anything, you can.
Yeah.
I will point out it is an armed mob of 30 or 40 people, and they are screaming bloody murder, and a lot of them are already bloodied and where obviously that they have been into fighting and stuff like that already. It is your choice if you wish to go and try to save this priest. The other two priests of Sigmar are not.
I don't blame them.
They're not willing to try to save one of their own.
You say it's 30 or 40 people?
About 30 or 40 angry mob. Yeah, I mean, basically it's a lynch mob, and they've gotten themselves a young priest of Sigmar, and they are lynching him.
Okay, what are the odds that they would get scared if I cut a few of them down?
Hopefully high enough.
And we, I mean, this is a horrible question. I regret asking how conscious is the priest who's being lynched? I mean, is he a?
He's
At
bloody,
what stage is he in?
he's bloody and beaten, already. But you know, I mean, this mob, they are all carrying pitchforks. Some of them do have hand weapons, hand axes, stuff like that. As I said, several of them are wounded, bloodied. Obviously, they have been rioting and participating in significant violence and are very, very frenzied at this point.
So I'm just gonna say, Caterel, maybe shoot the rope that's hanging him.
Is it already hanging?
They
Yeah,
just
he
hung the
said-
rope off.
Okay. Then yeah, I would go ahead and try that shot, which I imagine
I'll
is
pull out
hard.
my bow
minus
and
20
just, like, be
to hit the
ready.
rope.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I'm gonna pull out my bow and just be ready in case they turn on us.
Okay.
Or in case
Yeah, same. I'm getting ready
if Bertilda
too.
gets ready to fight, I'm gonna fight with Bertilda.
I mean,
Yeah, holding a few darts.
As
We're gonna-
many as there are, it's pretty straightforward to understand. If a mob this size turns on you, you won't survive it.
Yeah.
You're gonna run or die fighting because
Yeah.
there's just too many of them. I mean, you could probably handle maybe even 10 of them, but 40, not reasonable.
But if
No,
their focus
but
is
I'm
on
gonna-
us,
yeah.
maybe the guy can run away. You know.
Yeah, but I can't run that fast. They'll be able to overpower us if.
Standing here with Bertilda for sure. Like if it comes down to it, I would fight with Bertilda.
Okay, the Sigmarites are okay. You and it goes, sticks in the tree. The Sigmarites are like, "What are you doing? We must go. Come, hurry to the palace.
You're gonna leave your brother there?
There is no saving him at this point. We will just all die if we try. He must make the sacrifice. There are far more important things at risk."
His death is on Leibniz's hands.
Try to shoot the rope one more time, then we run.
Okay, I'll take one more shot.
Okay.
Just for
I mean, a
peace of
few people see the arrow and like start to glance and look around, but again, they're so frenzied, they really don't care. I mean, you just hang the heretic is really the loud chant.
mind. I don't even know if hitting it's gonna matter at this point, but it'd be nice. Okay, yeah, I shot the rope in the right arm.
Okay.
It's the right
do
motion
like that
frame.
right arm.
Okay, yeah. You cut through the rope. The crowd kind of stops, and people turn, and eventually one of them
Run, Bertilda, run.
and points in your direction, and then they start to murmur,
Yeah, no, we're
and
running.
several of the angry mob begin to lower their weapons and start to advance on you slowly in like a line, like.
Yeah, we're running, I guess.
Okay.
They're just gonna kill this priest anyway.
I mean, it's less likely now if they chase
Let's
us.
get a new
Nice.
rope.
Wait, we should yell something at them. I mean, we can outrun them. I mean, mostly.
Potato.
I'm gonna cast a spell.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm casting sound, so I'm gonna channel it first because this has to work.
Voice of Ulrich.
What are you doing? Stop being naughty.
No.
Okay.
Is Ulrich just
Hold on,
Santa
hold on.
Claus with like an axe? Like that? It's a big sword.
It's Santa Claus and he likes dogs. Okay, you fail the channeling roll. Not surprised with the
You son of a bitch.
difficulty of concentrating at this very moment as an angry
Yeah.
mob begins to descend upon you.
Well, I'm definitely I'm
No,
using.
don't make me get the spray bottle.
I'm using the bell that I'm using a bell.
Okay,
More than
use
one.
bell.
All right, and I see the guy who's being lynched, right?
The priest of Ulrich, yes.
Because this is based on like what you could see. So the sound is if I succeed. Oh my god!
Which it does not. Okay.
So instead, I'm just gonna shout really loud, "Run, priest, run!" like,
Okay.
over the crowd.
One of them says, "Did you see that? He was waving his arms. He might be a witch."
Yeah, I figured as much. I hate my life. I'm running.
Okay, you're all
turning
starting to
it around.
Who's that witch with the rope? Run.
Which is that ropes? Okay, yep, several of them start to chase you. The bulk of them stay behind to finish their job.
Oh.
None of them are eager enough, once they get far away from their friends, they don't have the nerve to continue to chase you when they realize that now they're sort of, the numbers are a bit more even. They'll kind of like peter out, yell some insults. Yeah, you better run, heretics. We'll catch you and burn you later. I know where you live, one of them yells. And
I have a shirt on my helmet. You don't know who I am.
You smell bad.
Thing is that we don't.
And you die early.
Okay.
Don't be children.
As you kind of get close to the palace, you can notice that there are a lot of the City Watch all the way around it. And they're yelling loudly with the help of employed, barkers that there is now martial law and an imposed dusk till dawn curfew on the entire city is being posted. Anybody that violates that will be imprisoned and flogged.
Oh no.
But it would appear that the Sigmarite priests are expected because the guards allow them into the palace with you guys.
I was supposed to say, but they kill us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Four Teutonic Knights stab each of you in order.
Right. When
I
you...
lied. I wasn't an imposter.
It wasn't me. It was them. But, once you get inside the palace, a couple of palace guards lead you to a large antechamber where you can see all of the principal players of the courtroom all arguing and bickering with each other as the icon itself is on full display. They're trying to absorb the bombshell that Leibniz attempted to drop. As I said, they're kind of all gathered around casting aspersions. It can't be, Stoltz asserts defiantly. He turns to you people and says, you are here. Did you see that symbol when you brought this to Middenheim? Was that symbol there?
It must have been added.
I mean, you didn't actually see the
We
back
didn't
of
see
it.
the back.
I'm
It was
not
in
gonna,
a
I'm not going to
frame.
be honest about that. I'm just
But
going to
that's what
throw
I'm
that
saying.
story
Just
out there. I'm
for
just saying
clarity.
it must have been added.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Then, this is devastating, puts in the High Priestess of Verna. Even if it is proven to be false, the Empire will tear itself apart. Once
Yeah,
word
was it worth
spreads, Leibniz, what were you thinking by making these accusations so public? Leibniz kind of shoots her a look of mocking reproach, like, my dear Evina, he scolds her jokingly, do you counsel the suppression of truth? Whatever would your divine mistress say? Truth! You call this truth? Stoltz explodes with frustration. Abomination, that's what this is! Painted on by some heretic! Now gone to his just punishment, I fondly hope, to heap vile calumny on my Lord Sigmar and try to destroy the Empire. Now, Stoltz, Leibniz lays a mocking affection upon him as he places a hand on his shoulder. The sons of the White Wolf will keep the Empire safe. You have no fear of that. The Knights of the Teutonic Guard and Brotherhoods of the Axe, they will lead the rest of you back to greatness on the true path of the rightful worship of the one true God of the Empire, Ulrich.
How do you sleep at night?
Of course, your temple will have to be investigated, and the corruption torn out by the roots, or the Grand Theologist will have to step down, of course, for allowing such heresy to flourish under his rule. He should be replaced by one unattainted Teutonic bloodline. Is that it? Hisses Stoltz. You did all of this out of ambition? Leibniz waves him to silence. A leader of heretics should be careful with their accusations, he says. But never fear. I'm sure that even now, the Inquisition would be sympathetic to your cause. Why, I'll even put in a good word for you and try to get you a temple job. Of course, you won't be allowed to preach, but I'm sure that the library or the stables... He's unable to finish his sentence because Stoltz at this point breaks into rage, lunges forward, and grabs Leibniz round the throat. It's like, ah! I will kill you! The bystanders pull the two men apart, and the watch commander, Schutzman, orders the two of them to the rooms that have been hurriedly prepared for them. At that point, he looks at you and says, madness. Everything has gone to madness.
Deputy High Priest say where he got this icon from.
He says
How did
that
he
it was
acquire it?
brought to him by a member of the Order Fidalis that wanted the truth about their corruption that was running deep to be exposed.
If you recall correct me if I'm wrong, but we were in search of that artifact when we went into the sewers and found the infestation beneath the city, correct?
If that is indeed the artifact you were looking for, then yes.
So how would the Order Fidalis have even been able to get it to him? Honestly, this is much more suspicious than that.
It is. Honestly, at this point, I do not know what to believe. Because there are evidences and aspersions being cast from both sides. It is true that the aspirations of the two churchhoods to be the most prominent church of the Empire, and specifically Middenheim, is well known, but for anyone to go to such extremes on either side.
This is childish.
Neither side. Leibniz is responsible for several deaths out there. There are people being hanged by trees.
It says, I have already declared martial law. It says, before anybody in this party can possibly hope to leave, the palace being the most secure and safest place within the city, Stoltz said that you should be brought here as well, as you may be pertinent for evidence, and quite honestly, I feared for your own safety, so I agreed with him.
I appreciate that you feared for our safety in the city.
Some
That's
thanks
a lot
for all
more
we've done.
consideration than a lot of people have given us.
It says, well, we will arrange accommodation for you here in the palace. I'm sure it will be comfortable, if nothing else. Perhaps once we have time to get a handle on some of this mob and the initial insanity dies down. Snugs, thank you for resubscribing. What's up?
Don't indulge
Snug
him.
buddy.
He doesn't deserve
Don't give
that.
him
I
nothing.
did acknowledge him. I just didn't see it before then. Thank you for that, my dude.
Oh.
Yes, he says.
I'm gonna subscribe in the middle of your monologues now. Every time I'm just gonna
There
wait.
you
Every
go.
time.
Every time you do a monologue, drop a
I'm
subscription.
waiting for him now.
He says, please, follow me. I will lead you to some empty rooms.
Are the other witch hunters okay, including Bauer?
Bauer is okay. We have him secured inside the palace. As for the other two, they were in the Temple of Sigma, which from what I understand is currently under assault. But we can trust that the priest of Sigma, assuming that Leibniz is perhaps incorrect in his aspirations, should at least be able to deploy the blessings of Sigma to defend the church against such an angry mob. Mobs can be fickle. They're quick to anger and rile up, but by the time they get thirsty and find their way into the local taverns, they will soon peter out.
If they don't burn them all down.
Yeah, speaking of which, the bar in question that we testified about is burning to the ground as we speak.
Convenient, so that no evidence can be found.
Well,
yeah.
the hope is that the underground part, the cultist part, is untouched because it was under the establishment surrounded by rocks.
Well, perhaps
And
once the
the-
flames die down and the temperature of the mob, we can root through this and see if we can't get beneath it and find some evidence.
Can we be a part of that excavation?
If you wish. I do not see why not. After all, you would know more what you are looking for to collaborate things than my watch.
We're just hoping that there's a dwarf that was maybe underneath everything, so he's still alive.
Ulrich, I would like to apologize for my misunderstanding of the quality of your character upon our first meeting. You've proven yourself well beyond worthy of my respect.
This is well. I am trusted to protect the city of Middenheim in the Emperor's stead. I do what I can with the limited resources that I have. But now you must be wary. I will show you to your rooms and make sure that you have ample refreshment.
Yeah, one last thing. I know it's been a trying day. Surely you should let Bauer go.
The trial has not been conducted and finished.
But with all the evidence exonerating him, Leibniz threw that as a last resort measure because clearly he saw the tide turning against what he was prosecuting.
That is a fair assumption, assuming you are choosing to believe that Bauer is innocent, as is the Sigmarite Church.
But the evidence was all there. I mean, it doesn't make sense if the Sigmarites
The problem
were...
is, none of this evidence incriminates Leibniz or the Church of Ulrich.
Well, why did he bring that up during the trial that had no relation?
But it clearly did have relation. The whole point of his accusations was the Order Fidalis was corrupt and was working for the Temple of Sigma. And if this icon was indeed corrupted and was something that the Temple of Sigma was willing to desecrate an icon of their holiest values, then I do not personally believe that the Churchhood of Sigma is corrupt. But at this point, I find it as plausible that there may be corruption in the Churchhood of Sigma as there is that there may be corruption in the Churchhood of Ulrich.
Okay, but I understand that. It's just, we know that the witch hunters don't work for any of the churches. They work outside of the churches.
Yes, but the Order Fidalis does work under the umbrella of Sigma. This is a fact.
Yeah, but they don't work with the Sigmarite Church. They have their own tactics and ploys, and it doesn't make sense.
I think
The High Priest isn't tainted by chaos. It won't matter. He'll be eaten alive by it eventually. He thinks he can control it.
the point being made, to my understanding, is more the dispersions being cast. Why would he save that as a nuclear last option? Would not the charges be pressed against the church beforehand? Why would he withhold this information if it wasn't to cause this spectacle to stop the trial? I don't think we should cancel the trial, but I do think the rest of it should remain private, perhaps.
No, we was... Please understand, I'm just merely saying that this needs to be gotten to the bottom of before we start releasing anybody.
I agree.
To your point,
All right.
however, as indeed he did keep this item to the very end, which, from the number of trials I have attended, is not an uncommon thing for them to save their most damning evidence to last. I would also point out that Stoltz saved the most prominent witness that he had until last. Why did he not bring him forward initially? You have the same argument either way.
Well,
But I believe that is more of a...
Why would Bauer need to cut a chain if he was a part of it and had the key? Like, he clearly was not.
I saw him kick the chain under the book, as if to hide the evidence.
Leibniz, right?
Leibniz, yes.
Oh, let's not forget about the fact that he locked us underneath the temple and then was shocked when we showed up today.
Right, well, I know nothing of this, but Leibniz claims that he believes that you are correct, and Bauer did indeed cut the book free. But he claims that the reason Bauer took the book was when he took it, he decided he did not wish to have it destroyed so much as keep it for his own worship.
As he was on the way to the church, which is the church.
He was found in the streets. He claims he was on the way to the church, but he could have been going anywhere. This is the truth.
Wasn't he passed out in the streets? I'm
He was.
confused.
He was.
Okay. How could he continue onto the church if he was passed out?
Well, this is also the point. He claims he was heading to the Church of Sigma. This is one of the things that Ulrich, that Leibniz is saying is like, oh, he was taking the book to the Church of Sigmar because this is where the corruption is. I understand.
Would you say in
Many
your
of these
frustration
things
right
seems
now, you might ask
absolutely
more
absurd.
rationally?
But at the same time, as crazy as all of this sounds, we do not necessarily know who to believe at this point. Too many aspersions have been cast.
Okay,
We must
so
get
Well,
then-
we
some
just don't
evidence.
believe anybody.
Well, at this
How about-
point,
Is that
until
an
the
option?
truth is known,
Oh,
we
yeah.
don't believe anybody.
No.
We keep
Okay,
everything locked down, yes.
we should then lock up both Leibniz and Stoltz.
I have already sent them to their own rooms. Keep them
No,
apart.
like jail them.
This is not an option. They are the current high...
You're the watch commander.
It
You're
does
in
not
charge.
matter. You understand that the law of man is one thing. The law of religion... this
So
is
where
not
does that
something that
leave
we
us
are
if
in
the
a
two
position to
people
be
who
able
are-
to arbitrarily arrest somebody of such high standing with no evidence.
Can I make
Okay.
a request?
If it is within my power to grant, yes.
Since we don't know who to believe, and we have to investigate thoroughly, could we perhaps investigate both churches thoroughly without either of them present at their church when it is investigated?
This may become a thing that we need to do. If it is, perhaps you can
I would
assist.
just like neither of them to be present because I wouldn't want them to be able to hide evidence.
Well, again, it is going to be very difficult to insist that neither church leader is allowed in their own establishment.
Simply until we are able to get
There is no simply. If they decide or choose to not allow this, there is little to nothing that even I, as a watch commander, can enforce.
I see.
Not without
Perhaps
some
it's-
kind of damning evidence.
Perhaps it's less about enforcement as it is seeing their graciousness in the request. If one of them is so abhorrently against being searched for evidence as it would absolutely clear their name had nothing been found.
He says, well, once we have had time to calm down, at this moment in time, there is no searching either of the churchhoods, as both of them are beyond our reach with the rioting going on.
Right.
Where does it leave us if they're both corrupt?
He says, if indeed both churchhoods are corrupt, how this leaves us is a chaos-induced, religious-based civil war that nobody will survive. We must pray that it is not the case. I simply hope that whoever is behind this, it is the aspirations of a corrupt individual, and not an entire devotion of churchhood.
Who is it
I don't
that
think
you
it's
pray
the
to?
churches. Just an individual in particular.
What did you say, young lady?
Who is it that you pray to?
Myself, I sometimes pray to Ulrich for strength in battle, and sometimes to Sigma to help guide my hands for justice. It depends. I do not find that the worship of a single deity is necessary, but many are singularly devout. Of course, being just a simple watch commander, I can afford such a luxury.
Very well. Looks like we are here for the time being.
Well,
Okay,
as I
can we
said,
make up
make
our
yourselves
minds?
comfortable. We will have food brought to your dorm. I would recommend you all stay together in one room.
Can it be something sealed, please? I don't know if I trust.
It will come from the palace kitchens. Believe me, the food will be fine.
I'm gonna whisper to the party. Thought that about the Temple of Ulrich too. Goki, why?
What is this Goki?
He maximized a bunch of windows. I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess this is the price you pay for doing a really good thing.
Hey, there's no good deed goes unpunished, you know that. Okay. Well, he leaves you to your room. I mean, it is a large, luxurious room, bigger than any room you've ever stayed in. It's got like a huge 4-poster bed, which is large enough for all of you to sleep on. It is the lap of luxury. There is already a decanter with several different wines and drinks on it that you can help yourselves to. And a window. You're on like the second floor of the palace, and a window that overlooks all the palace grounds, but then on top of that gives you a clear view of what's going on in the city. As dusk is starting to kind of, by now, dusk is beginning to fall, and you can see fires that are much more than just the hearths of burning fireplaces in homes dotted around the city. Even this far away from, the bulk of the populace, there is still a low murmur of dissent that you can hear outside in the city itself. Okay. After a little while, a door is knocked upon. Or your door is knocked upon.
I'll go ahead and open it.
Okay. To your surprise, it is somebody that you recognize. Expecting it maybe to have been the food, it is not. It is Father Ranulph from the Temple of Ulrich.
Oh.
Can I speak with you?
He asks, his voice low and urgent.
It is very important.
And he's carrying with him a lead box.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, come in.
Okay. He comes in, and because it's so heavy, he kind of like carries it over and drops it on the bed.
This thing.
Do we recognize this box?
It's a large lead box.
Does it look like another large lead box?
Am I smart enough to know what its purpose is? Because
you know what the lead boxes that you've seen before. You know what they've been used for.
I'm just going to assume that even if it's not the one we brought, that maybe it's a different one because of all of the stuff we were talking about earlier about them having a lot of them. I'm going to take a step back and be like, why'd you bring that here?
This thing, it must be destroyed.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous to keep around.
No.
Since you brought it back, I know I can trust you.
Oh, shit.
You must take the box to the Collegium Theologica and ask for Professor Albrecht Weistein. Give him this note. He will explain everything. Hopefully he will know what to do.
Father Ranulph, I love the Temple of Ulrich. I do, but I've had it up to here with all the favors and the not asking for anything but pure faith, and I don't know how much more of it I can take.
As she's saying that, I'm gonna walk over to the box and open it so I know what's inside, which I already suspect.
Okay, as soon as you attempt, he goes, "For pity's sake, no!" And he'll like throw himself over the box to stop you.
You cannot open this thing.
I need to know for certain what it is.
It is what you suspect it is. It is the brass skull.
But we have trust issues because of all that's happened.
Believe me when I tell you, even through the lead box, this thing has attempted to cast its aspersions. It has grown in power. If you open this box and allow it to breathe air, this whole chamber will be corrupt. We will all become mutants within seconds.
Is that what happened to Leibniz?
I cannot speak of the situation with Leibniz. Needless to say, it is partly for this reason that I beseech you not to help Leibniz, but to help the Church of Ulrich. Forget Leibniz.
That's all I need to hear.
Leibniz does not know I am here. I did not bring this on his command. I bring this because it is necessary that we get this box to Albrecht Weistein. You have shown some resistance to this thing in the past, and the fact that when you had it in your possession, you brought it to us, assures me that you have no will or desire to gain control of this thing. There is no one else I dare trust at this point. With all of the corruption and aspersions being cast around, I do not know which members of my own churchhood I can trust. Which ones may be tainted, which ones may be perhaps led down a malign path.
And you're just now aware of this?
Yes, we are just now aware of this. Prior until the events of yesterday, there was no fear of corruption inside of our church. There was no misgivings as to the validity of leadership.
Please, Father Renolf, meditate over this. There may have been other signs. We have reason to believe, perhaps, and I know this isn't an easy dispersion to cast, but Leibniz has not been
Look,
well for quite some
I
time.
know that Leibniz, and indeed those that work for him, the Brotherhood of the Axe, have always been known as being a little bit extremist, but I had no idea he would go this far. I truly believe that he is currently on a misguided path, and we must do what we have to do to save him if possible, but more importantly, protect the Church of Ulrich. But even beyond that,
Ulrich himself.
a war with the Church of Sigmar is not what we want. We all stand for the same things. Or at least I used to believe we did. Needless to say, my intent is to stay here and to do what I can to keep the peace.
I'm gonna.
Leibniz is not aware that I have the box and I have brought it from the temple, nor must he be aware.
I'm gonna take my bag and wrap up the box and put it in.
Okay.
Father Renolf, you've been nothing but
Believe
an ally
me
to
when
us.
I say, for your own safety and that of the city of Middenheim and the church, do not allow anybody else to lay hands on this box except Professor Albrecht Weisstein. As I said, give him the note. I truly believe he will know what to do.
It can't get out of the box, right?
Not from this box, unless you break the seal.
No, I'm not touching it.
Okay.
I want to make sure it can't.
He says this
Teleport
box is
like
not
it did
locked
before.
by a regular padlock. This box is sealed by a religious doctrine. But the spell is only on it until it is opened. Once it is opened, it is just a box. This is why I cannot allow you to open it now. Beyond the fact that what it would do to you, what it would do to us.
Is the letter unsealed or is it sealed?
It is sealed and stamped with a wax seal.
Okay, well, that better be what's in this box, because if I get there and I find out something else is in this box, I'm coming back for you.
This is all timed very appropriately to get us out of a city where we are needed for a trial.
He said, you're
Where's
not
the
leaving
trowel?
the city, just go to the Ecclesium Theologica. He said, it is not a far distance from here.
What time of day is it? Is it dark?
It's getting dark, yeah.
He says, of course,
Curfew.
there is a curfew. But
Well, shit. That's
this
not
is
bad.
why you must go under the cover of darkness. The guards, they will be patrolling, but you are very capable. I'm sure you can make it the short distance from here to the Collegium Theologica without being apprehended.
Where is that on the map?
It was up here.
It's over here near the Freiburg area, so it's not. I mean,
Oh,
it
the
is not
Freebird.
far.
We
at
can
all.
make it, y'all. It's not that far.
Yeah,
Let's do
it is
this.
not far.
Please, if we may, relay any information of this Ulrich of the city guard. He can be trusted more than anyone else in this city.
The Collegium Theologica is this building right here. Very close, in fact, to the Church of Sigmar.
Oh, well, sweet. We'll have plenty of light from the church burning down. Let's go.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing, guys.
Let's not waste any time.
All right, he says,
I do not believe that anybody else will disturb you, at least not until morning, so...
he reaches under his tunic and pulls out a rope and
What
drops
about
it on the
food?
bed.
What if they bring us food? Are they going to know that we're not here? Maybe we can just
Maybe
try
we
and
wait
sleep.
for food.
Wait for the food.
Okay.
After you've eaten, it will be assumed that you are going to sleep. Use this rope to descend down into the courtyard. Make your way out. Ideally, you could be back in by mornings. They'd never know.
Yeah, ideally. But that rarely works out for us.
Alright.
says, "Trust me. I know I am asking a lot of you, especially in light of what has happened, but there is no price that we are not willing to pay. So once this
good.
terrible business is taken care of, we will see you amply rewarded. You have my word of that."
I feel like your word is the only I would take from Ulrich at this point.
I wish this was not the case,
Or
but
Ulrich
as I
himself.
said, there are few in my
Ulrich
own
himself.
churchhood that I dare trust at the moment. I do not believe that the Church of Sigmar is corrupt, although I
Right.
do believe that Leibniz may believe it.
Yeah?
I just don't know his reasoning or why. If he is truly corrupted by chaos, misguided, misled, I just know that if it is possible to save him, we should. If it is not, we must expose him for what he is.
Agreed.
Please consider bearing witness on this trial.
I will
I
do
know
what
what
I
it
can,
means for you.
but you must understand, as one of the few people, as you said, that you can trust within the Temple of Ulrich, if I tip my hands,
He could end up in the jail just like we were.
I
Worse.
would probably end up wagering probably a fate far worse than that, especially if they knew that I had liberated this artifact and given it back to
Oh,
those
shit.
that brought it here in the first place.
Well, let's take it.
Anyway, I have
To
been here long
eliminate
enough. They will be here with your food soon, so I must depart. Good luck, and remember, get the note to to Professor Albrecht Weisstein in the
I'll remember that
Collegium
name.
Theologica.
Albright.
And he kind of opens the
Albright
door and,
Fister.
without saying anything else, disappears down the corridor. About 15 minutes later, your food is brought. It's a lavish meal of fresh cooked chicken, venison, fresh vegetables, you name it, it's there. Anything you want to request, you could, and you get it. So if nothing else, you are amply fed of the highest quality meal. Once that is done, there is the business of a second-story window, a rope, and a courtyard below. And that is a great place for us to
I
stop.
assume none of us grew
This evening.
tentacles or anything after.
Not yet. No one's got any tentacles
Honestly,
yet.
though, do any of us have like an appetite after today?
Well, cool beans. Alright, if we have no questions, we went over, so we're getting out of here. Much love to you guys. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for our follows. Thanks to everybody that hung out with us tonight. Thank you for our subs and resubs. Most of all, thanks to each and every one of you that spent your time hanging out with us. We had fun. Hope you did too. We will see you again real soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.